Let them waiting for the live stream to go, and then I'll give you I'll count you down and you can jump in.
Heard. Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
All right. Hold on for a second. All right, Aaron, you've done this before. Woo! This is okay. And it recorded fine last time, which was really weird what happened.
Hello and welcome to the No Gimmies podcast. My name is Evan Cook. I am joined as always with my co-host Aaron Bullwinkle. Aaron, it's been a while since we talked. Uh, I turned 37 since the last time we talked.
You
I
did July 25th, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I'm officially in my late 30s, I think, so it works. So, feels good. You have been what? You've been at like a basketball, you've been teaching at a basketball camp?
So yeah, we should probably kind of start with that because we hopefully picked up some new listeners. I know my boy Lewis, my Giza, have you from England is likely listening. He's become a fan of the podcast, so shout out to him and thank you. But I was at a Snow Valley basketball camp in Waverly, Iowa. For those that are not aware, Snow Valley is actually a series of camps. I used to attend them in Santa Barbara. This one is run by Don Showalter, who people may recognize his name, but he's associated with USA Basketball. And I was there in a coaching capacity. And if any of the fellow coaches are out there listening, thank you guys so much. It was a wonderful experience. Really, I always loved Snow Valley. I grew up around it. My dad's been doing it for probably 40 years at least. The Van Gundys used to be coaches at a really long lineage of high quality coaches, but it's a camp that's very focused on the fundamentals and getting better at the game in this really intense kind of period of time. And so, for anybody that's ever looking to send their kids out there, this is an unpaid advertisement. Please look into it. It's a great opportunity for your kids to get better at the game of basketball, both men and women. And for those that were a part of my first year there, thank you. It was a wonderful growth experience for me and really just a phenomenal opportunity to become better at a coach and as a person. Like, it's just really a great space.
That's fantastic, man. I'm glad to hear that that was a worthwhile experience for you. I'm just gonna say, you know, basketball camps over AAU. I'd rather have kids going in there learning how to play the game the right way and then, getting the scrimmages and the runs in, which always happens usually at the end of the any of the skills camps that I went to. I went to Oklahoma State universities, I went to Tulsa universities, I went to Oral Roberts University. I went to all their basketball camps, their skill camps, uh, dribbling camps, team camps, all those things with these universities. And it was really cool to have, actual coaches taking the time, like college coaches taking the time to, kind of show us how collegiate athletes, how they train, how they prepare. And I just think it's better than just having a bunch of kids run scrimmages or AAU games, 5 games in 3 days. I
I
think that's
completely, I completely agree, and we've probably heard more than enough times my opinion on AAU. I would
yeah,
also say that there is a distinction between like the camps that are more exhibitionary camps in terms of or opportunities for kids to just kind of showcase and get their name on a little thing. I went to some of those camps. They're fine for what they are, but if you want your kids to
yeah.
get better, they're not really an opportunity for that. That's just an opportunity to build up your profile. Like you said, these teaching camps that are really focused on fundamentals and making your kids a better player, even if they don't have a chance to play at the next level. There's so many lessons just in terms of focus, attention to detail, showing up for yourself. That obviously, look, I think basketball is, the whole saying is it's not a sport, it's a way of life for me. And I believe that in terms of the teaching fundamentals beyond the game, but actually in terms of growing as a person and building yourself. And I think those camps, like you're speaking to, are great for that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was really cool to have Eddie Sutton watch me play basketball when I was like 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
It just, as a kid, that's just super inspirational. And I wanted to show off and show out for Eddie Sutton, even though I was kind of still, I was in the middle of my growth spurt. I was very awkward. I had just like gotten to 6'1". I shot up 6 inches over a summer, and I just didn't know how any of my body worked anymore. Just kind of completely gave up on the idea that I looked good. But I do remember I had one game where I dropped like a double double at like 17 and 10, and I looked up and he was in the stands watching, and I was like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are deep in the off season. We did have a little bit of news break today. I'm not sure if I'm breaking this news to you, but Mikal Bridges signed an extension with the New York Knicks today, 4 years, $150 million. He's got a player option and trade escalators. Your reaction?
That is a lot for Mikal Bridges, considering the circumstance he's in. I like Mikal Bridges. My quick math tells me, what is that, 37.25 a year or something? I might be screwing that up.
Yeah, you're in the ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's or 37.5. That's especially, I'm really starting to get confused why so many of these guys are getting player options for teams where I feel like they should have the leverage, the player option and the trade kicker. I get the trade kicker because if you're his agent, you are fully aware of the Knicks circumstance and him being one of the few pieces that they can probably move to a lot of different places. But man, the territory. I mean, I guess when you look at it 2 years from now, when we continue to see the salary cap raise, that number is probably the range of the quality of player he is. So you kind of have to take the long view for it. It just feels a lot for a guy that I don't think Mikal Bridges is ever going to be an all-star. If he does make an all-star team, kudos to him, but it'll be like one of those kind of fringe all-star team situations. I really like the player, and I thought they figured some stuff out with him, but I mean, is he their fourth best player?
I have Anunoby.
I think that
Anunoby. I kind of like Anunoby better than I like Bridges.
So I like Anunoby better. Now, the one caveat for that, and this has to be in Mikal Bridges' bargaining when he's looking to go for a contract, is Anunoby has a really bad injury history. Mikal Bridges is the exact opposite of that, right? Like the guy doesn't miss games.
Yeah. So this is gonna be positive, Evan. So I'm gonna look at this trade and just like you did and say 37.5 million with this cap the way that it is. That's pretty doable for a player of his caliber. I also would say that I believe that Mike Brown is going to do a lot better job with his workload and his offensive production. I think he's going to get more of an opportunity. You've gone mute on me, my friend.
He's not going to have to play 46 minutes in a game where they're up 20 going into the fourth. He might get to rest, and
he might actually get to. Well, I mean, he was very he said it last year he's like, look, I play a lot of minutes. That's this is really hard on me, and they actually the Knicks really concentrated on having a lot of depth. I think they made their team better this year. They have a lot of guys that will actually get playing time now.
Yeah,
and. Yeah, the Knicks won't have a 7-man rotation in November. That's positive, Evan. Negative, Evan is going to say the idea of Mikal Bridges seems to be valued a lot more than what the actual player produces.
Especially when we look at the defensive profile since he left Phoenix. Yes. He has not been that same level of defensive player. He was given this 3-and-D label that he never fully lived up to as a number one option. Now, when he was the number 3 option behind Paul and Booker, and he had Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson, yeah.
I mean, and DeAndre Ayton, that whole team made sense as a unit. We saw what happened with him as a number 1 when he was in Brooklyn. The numbers dipped. The production wasn't nearly as good. It's hard for a guy like that to carry a team. And then now we've seen him. I mean, defensively in the playoffs, he was awesome. Like how many plays where he just shut down Jason Tatum or he shut down the other team's best player and just took the defensive assignment and said that you're not scoring on this possession. He can do stuff like that on certain players. Like I said, I think I like Anunoby better. Anunoby's getting similar money.
Yeah, didn't Anunoby got 4 for 160 if I remember correctly? But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, he's in the 40. Yeah, it's something like that. So I think they're making similar money.
Yeah.
But I don't believe he has he got the trade kicker. So
that's a little wild. Now, there's a couple other things that I think need to be brought into this. First of all, once again, kudos to Jalen Brunson for helping facilitate all this by taking lesser money when he had the opportunity to wait and take a bigger payday. That we cannot overemphasize that enough. We sit here and talk a lot about players sacrificing or not sacrificing for the sake of
LeBron.
yeah, you said it,
Sorry,
not
I
me.
had something caught in my throat. That was
For
mine.
this for the sake of a team getting better or not. And this is a direct result of Jalen Brunson taking less money, and that's awesome. Also, Bridges probably because of the Knicks financial situation, he had the leverage there. So pushing to get likely if this looks at 35 million, like it's kind of that range of where I'm probably getting a little too fixated on monetary value that incrementally doesn't really matter. Like if you told me it was 32 and a half, I'd probably think less sticker shock, and really 5 million a year annually for a team like the Knicks for the market they're in, the money that they're going to make, and where the salary cap's going to go really doesn't end up kind of mattering. I mean, it does matter, but you know what I'm saying.
What does a Mikal Bridges season at this price tag? What kind of season does it look like to you for you to feel more comfortable? Is he averaging like 19, 7, and 4 and playing and like second team all defense?
In
Is
fairness
that
to him, the player he looked like in the last 2 months of the season is really the player that I think looks more like this. Like he did some stuff in the playoffs, including the fourth quarter against the Celtics. I believe it was game 2 where he had 17, where he just took over. When he started to look more activated off the dribble, the player that we saw more with the Nets that we hadn't seen with the Knicks, if we can get a little bit more of that, and there's going to be more offensive ingenuity, we're going to see some things that'll probably activate him a little bit more. The sticker shock is just initial. The concept of who Mikal Bridges is as a defensive player, as a guy, look, if he averages 17, 6 rebounds and like 2 or 3 assists, and he plays better defense than we saw for the first 2/3 of the season, then this is exactly in that range for what he is on this team. So that I'm walking back a little of my initial sticker shock just as I think it through some more. Uh,
what is his ceiling? Could he be the second best player on the championship team, or is it third?
I don't think the inconsistencies offensively and the fact that I think he's the type of guy where he looks his best in a situation where you're probably not winning enough. Like the Nets, he looked like a guy that could be a number 1 or number 2 because he was put into that role more than I think he's really capable of being that guy full time. I think one of the things that we saw with when Brunson went down, Anunoby's game is really the one that accelerated. That's to me, that's reflective of a little bit of the difference of what these two guys are as top end. I think I need to stop saying I think. I apologize to you guys. You already know what I think. Um,
He's thinking.
yeah.
The thinking man analyst.
Bridges to me is like if I gave him a 2K score, like the best version he can be is like an 89. He's like a B plus. I don't think he can get to an A level with the type of player that he is and what we've seen in some of his limitations. So the third best player on a team is the farthest stretch of his limitations to me.
Okay. Just wanted to kind of talk that through a little bit. That was the big news from the actual basketball perspective. I guess moving on, we're still in the middle of the tip off. I'm sorry, you have something else you want to add?
We were talking about the minutes, and can I wear my petty cap for a second? Do you think Knicks fans now will actually admit how exhausting it was to watch Tom Thibodeau just run those guys into the wall? Can we get some truth serum, some
I think we're kind of on the opposite end. I think there's a lot of people when he got fired that a lot of people were writing these like apology articles that like, we were too hard on Tibbs and he took him to heights the Knicks haven't been in years. And there's been more of this like apology stuff than there has been like actual like analysis of why he was fired in the first place.
But that was in the immediate wake of the breakup. As we get the
but
longer
I don't know. I
perspective,
just listened to Michael Pena and Zach Lowe on their podcast from on Zach's pod, and they were like, is Mike Brown even that much better of a coach than Tom Thibodeau or a tactician?
Probably not, but we all know what the problem is with Tibbs. So like that, we all know what it is.
Try something new.
It's the playoffs. It's come playoff time.
I mean, Zach kind of made the point where he was just like, look, sometimes guys need to be in the right situation. And it's not like you can look at the Browns, the Cavs years, the Kings years, the Laker years, the Golden State years, and say that that's a different person each time. That every coach is basically a culmination of everything they've learned from each stop that they make. So maybe Mike Brown's learned some lessons. We all pretty much agree that he shouldn't have been fired by Sacramento, but we also agree that like he wasn't the Knicks' first choice. He was like the 19th choice. They
Yeah.
kept trying. They literally asked every active coach in the league if they were interested who wasn't named Mark Dagnall or I think did they even they checked on Spoelstra, right? I was gonna say
Well,
Spell.
I think they gave shots at everybody they could.
I was trying to
Look,
think like who didn't they ask about? But like yeah,
at the end of the day,
they
it's
even
gonna
checked
be
on Spoelstra. They're like, is
it,
he interested?
it's gonna be that classic tale of the 19th woman asked to the prom becomes the love of their life. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
well, yeah, and that's just excuse me. That's a story as old as time.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
Moving on, we still got a lot to cover here in the tip off. We are going to get to our off-season covers, but then there's been a few off-season storylines we needed to talk about. Aaron, just real quickly, is Rudy Gobert a Hall of Famer? It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, just want to make sure because apparently Threads got bored the other day, heard Shaq say some dumb things on a podcast and then started actively debating whether or not a four-time defensive player of the year was going to make the Hall of Fame. First of all, the threshold to make the Hall of Fame in the NBA is on the floor. Like Derrick Rose is going to be in the Hall of Fame, and his career was marred by injuries because he won one MVP. He will
and
be
a
in the
six
Hall of Fame.
and a six man of the year, but
Sure,
nonetheless,
that's
yeah, yeah.
that one less important than an MVP, but still.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
like
I'm
the
just saying if we're
bar,
putting together his credentials for the Hall of
yeah,
Fame, that's going
sure.
to be in the conversation.
But good college players get into the basketball Hall of Fame. The guys who don't even work out as pros get into the basketball Hall of Fame.
Well, and
Collegiate, it's pro, and it's media.
and it's international, and that's the thing as
Yes.
well. Is like Rudy Gobert's been a part of some decent French teams, even though he was kind of minimized in the games that mattered the most.
He
But
has a silver medal from last Olympics.
exactly, guys like Dino Raja and Tony Kukoc, they meant more to the changing of the international game here. But Rudy Gobert won 4 Defensive Players of the Year. Like, there's
It's
not
not
a
a
player.
question.
I think
Two would have got him in.
I believe Mark Eaton is the only multiple time defensive player of the year that's not currently in or not currently playing.
Okay.
To your point,
so three.
no. I'm saying two would be correct.
You said he was a multiple time Eaton?
He won twice and he didn't
So
get in.
2.5.
Yeah.
If you're over 2.5, apparently
Yeah.
you're getting because three will do. I mean, Ben Wallace is in.
Yeah,
Was
but
Ben Wallace a worse offensive player than Rudy Gobert?
and
Absolutely.
he also has 4 now. Ben Wallace won a title, but still, we let's not get into the minutia of this because it's a
Yeah.
stupid argument, and we don't even need to like play the thought games
No,
with it.
so the stupidity is because we are also getting into the Men's Health article about Luka Doncic being in shape. Because the whole point of this conversation is how poorly the NBA is talked about in the offseason. You think it's bad when the season's actually happening and everyone's complaining about the refs and everyone's complaining about this player and that player and the way that this person plays. It's worse in the offseason because we have to talk about the fact that Luka is just working out. Isn't that your job? Your job is to work out.
Well, you and I are of like mind in this, where celebrating guys getting in shape is a little frustrating, even though we've given credit to it sometimes. Now, one, this was the most predictable thing. Literally, when the trade happened, you and I sat here and talked about how in the summer, maybe we didn't name the summer, we just knew that there was going to be forthcoming articles about Luka's new diet and being in shape. My issue, now, first of all, the sizzle reels, the guys getting in shape, so and so's in the lab, look at their 3-point shooting. All of it is the hottest garbage. Like it belongs out in the Vegas desert. It is smoking hot garbage. Not just that.
Can I ask you, what are some of your favorite NBA offseason fake storylines? Like I can go back, I'll just give you an example. Like Enes Kanter, when he was with the Thunder, he like posted an image that he had lost like 39 pounds. He went from like 270 to like 230. And they were like, oh my God, is skinny Enes Kanter with faster lateral movement coming? Or whenever I saw
you respect Enes Freedom, whatever his name is, properly.
Enos Freedom.
Yeah, remember he changed his last
Yeah,
name.
it's Freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not calling him that.
Yeah, no, and
Or
nor should you. I say that with my tongue deeply embedded in my cheek
yeah.
because that guy's a fool.
I think a couple of years ago I saw Steven Adams was taking corner threes and just splashing all of them. Mitchell Robinson was another one. Mitchell Robinson was like playing point center in a pickup run.
The
Do you
Mitchell
remember that one?
Robinson and the pickup run Mitchell
He was
Robinson
just
one was very
hitting
good.
threes, dribbling between his legs, playing point guard. It was sick. And I was like, oh my God, Mitchell
So
Robinson.
we know who the apex predator is in this jungle of bullshit, and it's Ben Simmons, right? And it's not just the Ben Simmons sizzle reels of Ben's in the lab shooting threes. The
Uh,
number one all time, without a doubt, undisputed heavyweight champion is Ben Simmons photoshopping his own picture to look more buff. I don't know if you remember
when he
that,
was
but that
walking
was
around like, yeah, when he was looking like he was wearing a bodysuit.
he looked like the dog meme. That was and will forever like the first of all, the guy who tops that, kudos to you for your bravery if somebody's willing to take over that one, but that was the best. The
Yeah, he
best.
looked like he was like it was like Mike Bibby cosplay, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a giant human being.
Like
It
the
was
cartoons
incredible.
when you inflate you with your thumb.
Yes, yeah, it was a pop out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he posted it like it was real.
Like we're in a post-factual world, and there were people
Yeah.
out there that were sharing it. Like he's been. First of
So
all,
speaking of
nobody wants.
post-factual,
What's that?
I'm sorry.
Speaking of
Speaking of
post-factual,
post-factual,
let me not kill that transition.
the Men's Health article said that Luka Doncic had a 42-inch vertical from the 2018 Combine. Aaron, did you know that Luka Doncic did not actually attend the 2018 Combine?
I did know he didn't attend the combine. I just assumed they misplaced the decimal point. I thought 4.2 was what was intended. That article, and I don't want to kill the journalists. I haven't been a subscriber to Men's Health for many years, but it read like a guy who doesn't cover basketball, who was put on a basketball assignment. And it wasn't just that. It was you and I talk. They talk about the highlight reel dunks by Shea. Luka's not. Shea Gildress is not known for dunking. Shea
Yeah,
Gildress
about saying there's a whole point about like his highlight dunks.
He had 37 dunks all of
He
last
is the
year,
most
which means
boring dunker I've ever seen. He literally just lets the ball go, and he's so gentle.
And as you and I talked about, one of the things they talked about were eccentric athleticism, which I love those conversations. P3, the stop start, the whole thing about how you use kind of your movement in terms of your kind of quickness and slow down to be like an athletic component. I think it's something we undervalue with European players. But the fact that you use Shea Gilgeous-Alexander as an explosive athlete example, when his whole game is predicated on that exact thing, that ability to change speeds and change directions and slow down. And there was an article in The Athletic from 6 months ago that was talking about how Shea had a teacher in high school who was also his basketball coach who helped him understand how to change speeds and to understand you don't go from gear 1 to gear 2, you go from 1 to 3. And this exact thing, there was so many textured ways that writer could have incorporated that, and instead it just felt like it entered into Chat GPT certain parameters for how to talk about the game of basketball.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because the prevailing theory about why he thought that Luka had a 42-inch vertical is that he Google searched Luka at the 2018 Combine, and Google AI came up and said that Luka had a 42-inch vertical when it was actually Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah, that'd be the same Google AI when I just randomly did a search for who hit the most free throws in NBA history to start a season, kept telling me Shaquille O'Neal. So
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and say.
Does everybody know that we can see their work whenever when they use AI? Because we can literally recreate the prompts that you are making with the AI. Also, I'm not sure if you've heard this, but we're like, there was a TikTok that I saw where we're trying to name people who use AI for everything. So one of them is Askhole, ASKHOLE.
Okay.
Asshole, or Promptstitutes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have to use Google AI for everything, you're a big dumb baby and you're wasting resources and nobody likes you or thinks that that's interesting or cool. Just wanted to let everybody know that. That's just a little PSA from the No Gimme Pod.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and second that emotion.
I'm gonna, and anybody who gets mad at that, you can go argue with a robot about it. It
I want to
really
touch on
takes.
that article just a few more times because I don't want to feel like we're cherry picking things for this guy. I also don't want to bury him, which is why I'm not naming him. You're welcome to go look out before and look through the article. There's interesting tidbits about it, but he cited the fact that Luka's his dietary team and all this were part of the reason for this, that, and the other. If you read Wonder Boy by Tim McMahon, which I highly suggest for anybody who has not, which is like the seminal piece on Luka Doncic's first 6 years of his career, one of the issues was his team and the fact that the Mavericks had problems with how they were actually functioning with his diet and all this. So there was a lot of weird finger pointing that obviously was not cross-referenced or substantiated by the guy that wrote it. And it's going to feed into our greater conversation here, or I guess we're already having it, which is just like,
Well, I mean, like that the whole thing was PR against.
yeah, I mean,
that Nico said that Luca didn't want to respond to in season, but he had the opportunity to address them now. They were like, he's lazy, he doesn't work out, he doesn't have commitment to it being in shape, he's not a committed winner, and that's just, I mean, all of it I do believe is ridiculous. But to sit here and pretend that Luca was in the best shape of his life last year, just because he looks skinnier. Maybe that's true. Maybe he's fasting. Maybe he's working out. That's what basketball players do, or
yeah, and
they're supposed to.
there was a lazy piece of it because I liked what the guy said when he was talking about we already have evidence from players like Nikola Jokic or Shaq, although not a really good example in general of body types that are not necessarily your atypical Superman body type. But then you don't bring up all the soft tissue injuries and the lower extremity injuries that are probably a direct result of the fact that Luka's playing
Yeah.
too heavy and a lot of load minutes. It was just all of that. And this
Well, I
time of
mean, but
year,
then you also have to factor in the idea that Luca uses his weight as a weapon. When he
yes.
was 270, 260, 270 at his 6'8" frame, he was a bully. He could
Yeah.
get in the spots and shoot over anybody. Does that change now whenever he's not as skinny?
Well,
Or
we
whenever
do
he's
have to
this
remember
skinny?
Luka entered the league as a much svelter version of himself and was still a killer. So
Yeah.
he lost some of the stuff that we saw when before he came into the NBA and that first step stuff. So there's a happy medium to be had there, and maybe this is too far to one extreme. And I think we're all excited to see what Luka's going to look like as this
I
version.
want
Like,
Luca. Yes, I want
yeah,
Luca to be healthy and happy and the
yeah.
best version of himself.
None of this is
That's great
intended to
for
bury the
basketball.
player. If that level of commitment is what is going to make him a better basketball player, at the end of the day, that's all any of
Yeah.
us care about and want to be here for. But the sports coverage this time of year just starts to feel real rough and a little lazy and a little PR-ish, like you said. Like there's
Well,
definitely some people collecting some checks to write some of these pieces that are out there. And for those that don't know, what we do on the Basketball Intelligence newsletter is we try to curate the day's best articles. So I spend an hour and a half, 3 days a week combing through a lot of articles. So this is not just me blowing smoke. There's just stuff that I see where it's like, come on, guys. Like a couple of them were literally, we're just did you hit copy and paste from the thing that you wrote last year? It's just kind of wild.
well, I think that one of the big problems that we're dealing with is now a lot of our hot take machines are going to jail and getting fired from their respective networks. Shannon is gone at ESPN. Gil just got out on bail for running an illegal gambling operation. Marcus Morris, was his gambling too, or is he just in a bunch of
He
debt?
apparently did not pay back 250. He's accused of robbery, basically. So he didn't pay back $250,000 worth of money between MGM and I can't remember the other property. Oddly enough, I happened to be in a really interesting collection of company yesterday, and we were having this conversation, and somebody had talked about how one of their friends does collection for Sands, and they said they hate the NBA players more than really any other group because they're actually notorious for doing this.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I mean, we've
Yeah.
already heard about Malik Beasley. Dude, that guy was in debt to his dentist. Like, what kind of like bills are you racking up and you can't pay for dental work?
For those that didn't listen to the Pablo Torre finds out podcast about Malik Beasley, definitely go listen to it. It's amazing. You will
I'm
probably
trying
not
to add
come
that
away
to
with
my
an
list.
alternative opinion. How does one rack up more than $2,000 a month of weed if it's personal consumption. I'm hoping all of his friends were getting high, but I can't wrap my head around that.
Well, I mean, we don't need to talk about it. I don't really care that Shannon Sharp is no longer giving bad opinions. I don't.
Bye bye.
I muted Gilbert Arenas on Threads months ago. I'm tired of hearing his terrible opinions. He hangs out with the worst guy, like Nick Young. I don't want to hear his opinion either.
I like Nick Young more than the other one, and I try not to give names to the guy, but he was the one who got caught up in the cheating scandal at UNC and then tried to throw everybody under the bus and then
Rashad
blame.
McCants.
You can name them. I don't want to because I don't think any of these guys need our oxygen because they're bad takesmen for the sake of us getting all worked up and good riddance to bad rubbish. I'm happy the trash took itself out in those cases. I was never a Shannon Sharp guy. I know some people were. Considering I'm sure there's the victimization angle that he wants to play, but it was just so many things and so many people tell him to stay away from these girls and all that.
Too much headache for what they actually provide.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be like paying these gas bags extra money. But
look, he was getting how much a year? You can pay me. I don't even need six figures. And if you want me to go on there and give substantive takes that I actually worked for, please.
That's no one's interested in that.
Yeah, I know that's not the business
you to do
model,
no research and have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of, that was the tip off. I think that's everything. Unless you have anything else you want to cover, I don't care enough to ask any more questions.
I think we came out hot and swinging, to be honest. So
that was a lot to cover. We missed a few things,
Yeah.
We're in the off season, man. We got to cover these things.
We didn't even talk about Daryl Morey's asinine remarks about the bubble as well.
You want to talk about not giving something oxygen?
That's fair.
He did come out today and say he's jealous of the championship and he's finding ways to discredit it.
Wow, none of us could have figured that out.
Shocking.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me that the sky is blue.
Man. Like, you think Daryl Morey wouldn't take that 2020 bubble championship? He'd wear that ring every fucking day. By the way,
that was like I'm getting bombastic, but that was my issue with it. Is it's so unfair to devalue the efforts of those other teams and what they went through. You can feel about the bubble however you want. I think it's BS because here's the thing: you didn't win it, somebody else did. All those teams had to go through the same circumstances, but to also act like the isolation element, the psychological part, all those things didn't have their own
being away from their families.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so I think that's so unfair to do to the Lakers or anybody else who went through that crucible to get to that point to do that. Like, let's not do that. These guys are competing their butts off. They won the title. Let's be done with it. Congratulations to them. I know why we're talking about it. It was an article that was going back then, but like, there's so many nuanced ways he could have handled it. And it just feels like every year he has to kind of say something that he's got to walk back that's either sour grapes or just a weird kind of out of nowhere attack.
Well, there's a real easy litmus test for if a championship counts or not. If your team won it, would you celebrate it? You're fucking right, you would. Therefore, it counts.
It counts.
Look, and I don't even like the Lakers. I don't like Lakers fans. And I still think that championship matters.
We got a few Lakers fans that are in our good graces. We're not trying to alienate them all.
Well, I mean, that's fine. Come at me.
All right.
I've already made fun of Luka. They're already mad at me anyway. So I'm not making fun of Luka. I'm just making fun of the fact that I have to talk about skinny Luka now. I'm not even going to call him Luka anymore. It's SL skinny Luka, or I don't know. I'll think of another nickname for like a thin Doncic.
I hope Luka comes out like Jokic did in his championship season, is a complete world beater, and then goes back to being heavy again, and we completely forget the conversation.
The man likes beer. Leave him alone. Beer and hookah. Let him drink. Let him smoke some hookah. You don't even inhale. How's that even hurt him? Anyway, we do want to begin our off-season coverage. And the way that we decided to do that, considering how much time we generally have to take off during the summer, and, we're only a couple of months away from, preseason and the season gearing back up. So what we decided to do, instead of doing 2 teams or 3 teams or 4 teams, we're going to just do all the teams by division. And we decided to start with the Southeast Division. That is the Atlanta Hawks, the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, the Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets. Aaron, if it's okay with you, I think we should start from who we think will be the worst and work our way up, which I think will make it a lot more fun, especially when we get into some more competitive divisions. And I believe that means we have to start with the Charlotte Hornets because I kind of like the Wizards a little bit more than I like the Hornets.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well, I'm
you thought
okay with
about
this because I, you look at this. We'll do it, and then we can talk about why. I think the Wizards are probably going to be the worst, and I'll explain why. But let's start with the Hornets.
Well, so last year, the Washington Wizards finished 18-64. The Charlotte Hornets finished 19-63.
Yeah,
So these teams were at the bottom of the division.
They were neck and neck.
They were
for
neck
the
and neck
worst.
as it was.
Yeah.
I actually like a lot of the things. I think the Wizards have an actual like team and some sort of identity about where they're going. I don't.
Yes.
I like the Wizards collection of players far more than I like the collection of players in Charlotte.
It's good. We're going to talk about the Hornets because you want to start there, and then I'll explain why I have some
Okay,
issues with that
okay.
conceptualization for the Wizards. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they somehow they had 19 wins last year, and they only finished fourth in their division because of how bad the Wizards were.
Yeah,
On purpose, if I might add, on purpose. They were tanking. Not that it helped them. They ended up with the fifth pick or the sixth pick. They ended up. I still like the player that they ended up with. But anyway, I was talking about the Wizards. Sorry.
Yes, fair enough. Yeah.
So the Hornets last season, an offensive rating of 29, 29th in the league. A defensive rating 24th in the league. Not the best, buddy.
Yeah.
You're in the bottom. When you're in the bottom six of both
sides of that, you're struggling a little bit.
That's tough. So let's see. Their projected start at 5. If you want to start there, LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Con Knippel, Miles Bridges, and Mason Plumlee because they need to start somebody at center.
Yes, and we'll keep giving the rundown. Let's go ahead and let's give the roster, give what their cap situation.
Let's see. Let's just say who they added. It's a bunch of guards.
Yeah.
So they re-signed Trey Mann. They add Pat Connaughton. They add Spencer Dinwiddie. They add multiple rookies, Liam McNeely and Con Knippel.
Zion James, Colin Sexton.
Colin Sexton was a nice addition. They're getting Grant Williams back. I guess you can call that. It feels like subtraction.
Yeah.
I don't really know what he does. And then
he rankles his teammates. That's what he does. He pisses people off in his own locker room.
Not well liked.
No.
But at the end of the day, they also traded away every one of their centers, and the Suns gladly took them.
Yeah.
So they are left at the center position with I don't want to say his name. I said Moussa
Diabate, Mason Plumlee, and Ryan Kalkbrenner. That is probably we'll talk about it as we do each division. That's probably the worst depth chart in terms of centers in the NBA off the cuff right now. Mason Plumlee's on his 9th NBA team. Mason Plumlee's a perfectly fine player, but he lost the element of athleticism that was to his benefit 2 seasons ago. He's slated to be the starter. Kalkbrenner is perfectly fine, but you want to talk about another guy where athleticism is going to be a really big problem. And I love Moussa Diabate. Like, that dude is a beast. He's a per 36 star in terms of offensive rebounding, but he's so limited from a skill set standpoint. He's not a big center.
Well, he's a guy who tries really hard.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make him a good player.
Yeah, you want him as an energetic punch as your second or third center, really as your third. Like, they have 3 guys who should be your third string center and one of those guys has to start.
It's just like if you had imagine just a couple of years ago, you had like Bismack Biyombo, Olivier Sarr, and trying to think of another like weird white guy center.
How about Miles Plumlee?
Well, that is brother.
Yeah. You want to throw
only white guy centers we can think of?
A Zeller in there, Cody.
Yeah, Cody Zeller. Yeah,
choice.
that would be like if this was like 7 years ago. It's a great comp. Yeah. That is such like no one would be excited about that, and that's basically what the Hornets. So you're telling me that collection of players around LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller that's going to be better than the Wizards. Explain yourself about why you like this team better than the Wizards.
So, well, one, I think just in general, when they're going, their two best players, their three best players, LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges, are really probably better than anybody on the Wizards roster when they're functioning properly. For my personal feelings of Miles Bridges, the dude is nearly a walking double-double. He's turned into a pretty good defensive player, and he can shoot the three. Brandon Miller got hurt, but before he got hurt, there was a lot to be excited about. The shooting efficiency is going to be a big problem, but he can do a lot both on and off ball. He can get into his own stuff, and just his ability to kind of move the defense with his way of playing helps benefit all the other players around him. Now, in addition, Con Knipple was a guy that I was walked away from Summer League really impressed with because he just knows how to play. So as a connective tissue for some of those players that are not great intellectual players, he and Liam McNeely are both perfect fits in terms of what they can provide. And Pat Connaughton may or may not give them anything, but they just have some guys that I think help play winning basketball enough to get this team to where they could end up winning as many as 35 to 37 games in an Eastern Conference. It's not going to be very good if you can get 50 or 60 games out of LaMelo. Now, look, that caveat is a massive one because we've belabored the point of LaMelo never plays. LaMelo is not my favorite in terms of the intellectual element of the game, but he does make other players better.
Did you see that he tattooed his feet?
That was apparently fake.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're again post-factual world. We have to like triple check everything.
Yeah,
but I had seen. Yeah, I saw something that said that was fake.
Here's the problem with that. I didn't think to because it's LaMelo.
Of course, but that all
it
the
just
best
seems
things
like
are
something
those,
he would do.
Right? Yeah.
Race car toes. Anyway.
So LaMelo, he played 47 games last year, 22 the year before, 36 the year before, and 51 in his rookie season. He doesn't play. So they are stuck in a difficult situation.
That explains why they have so many guards on this team. They're preparing for him to not be there.
That part. And I don't mind the guards that they have to replace him. There's just more functional elements to what their team is. If Colin Sexton is your starting point guard, look, I don't love his inability to distribute, but now you can play him and Miller both on and off ball. There's just enough little stuff, I think. And I really liked what Charles Lee did with this group last year. Like, I thought he had them headed in the right direction. They competed in the second half of the season, even though their roster was an absolute mess. There's just, again, I'm not like high on the Hornets or anything, but if I have to compare them to the Wizards, and I'll give my reasons once we get to the Wizards, there is much more of a conceptualization of a functional NBA team that I can see here. They have the potential to play some defense with the parts they have. They have a lot of players. We talked about this before when we did our draft talk. They have a direction that they decided to go that's much more focused. Like, look, obviously they had a bunch of knuckleheads, so their counterbalance was to draft all these players that are known for their maturity and for their mental approach to the game. And I like that. Like, on balance, this group is no longer just a collection of exciting athletes who I don't want to watch have to play basketball. I think they have some other guys. KJ Simpson is a player that I liked last year and showed a lot in Summer League. Trey Mann, if he can stay healthy, is a guy that can put up 15 off the bench. Like, they have these other little pieces.
You know how I feel about Trey Mann.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest problem with all the guards that they chose to replace LaMelo with is that none of them do what he does best, or even distribute.
Yeah.
I mean, is Spencer Dinwiddie your best backup point guard among those players that you just named because he actually passes the ball?
Does Spencer Dinwiddie pass the ball any better than
compared to the other guys? Yeah.
No, but
Trey Mann hunts his own shot, and so does Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton never learned to be a true point guard.
No, but neither Spencer Dinwiddie.
Well, that was the problem in Cleveland.
Yeah, but what I think that they have is, again, with guys like Liam McNeely and guys like Con Knipple. Now, granted, these guys are rookies, so I'm not going to over-accentuate how they play. They have enough other guys who are going to move the basketball in the right ways. And they just have some, like, Tajon Salon, I think, is going to take another step forward. They're just going to be a fun group to watch. Now, they might be a mess at certain moments, too, because they're so young, and it's a lot of just really fun athletes that might be banging against people and running around everywhere. But the Wizards are going to be exactly that too.
Yeah, but like a lot of the fun that I've had watching LaMelo came from the fact that he had a big rim running center in Mark Williams whenever he was healthy. that was the most fun that you could have because running a high pick and roll with a bunch of shooters around LaMelo is a functional offense if it's all working. They don't have that now. Now, what happens with their spacing? What happens with LaMelo's ability to get downhill? He's still got the shooters. I think
Yeah.
Brandon Miller and Concanipple and even Bridges. What was Bridges? What did he shoot last year? He shot like 37% from three, if I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken.
believe the last 2 seasons he's been over 37% from three.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah. So like that
And
offense makes sense
and
if you
don't
have
forget
a
that.
good pick and roll center.
Yeah,
Um,
but you can still run pick and roll stuff and then run weak side and backside actions to spring guys like Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges who can get up for some of those things. You're not wrong, but you have serious screeners in Plumlee and Kalkbrenner. It's just now whatever that secondary action is going to have to be what LaMelo's looking to kick out to instead of hoping that he's going to get a guy going on a lob. Because obviously nobody's worried about Mason Plumlee lumbering down the scenes, and Ryan Kalkbrenner will get a three in the key by the time he gets from the free throw line to the rim. So there are some issues there, but
yeah.
I still just LaMelo is a creative enough passer. And the other thing, too, is this is a group from an athletic standpoint. Like LaMelo's at his best in the open court. There's a lot of guys on this roster that can get out in the open court and be exciting. So that part of it, I think, is there.
Well, that's the best part about having a young team is just get out and run because
Exactly.
that's what you can do best.
Yeah.
Also, last year Bridges shot 31% from three on 7 of 10. Woof. Anyway,
so we missed that.
So
I felt like
I do want to keep us moving in the right direction because we do have 5 teams to cover, and I don't want this to be a super long podcast. Is there anything else you want to hit about the Hornets? I mean, before we go to the Wizards, I do want to say I do like Charles Lee as a coach, and I do like where the ownership is going. They're actually making smarter decisions. I still don't think it's going to lead to the Wizards being any good, and I predict that they will want to be bad again. So even if they get a healthy full year with this whole roster, which I highly doubt they will, I still say they don't win more than 24 games,
I'll
even
take that.
in their Eastern Conference.
I'll take that bet. I bet
Okay,
they win. I think that if I had to
writing
go
this
over,
down.
yeah, I'll set it at 20. So 24. That's the bet, right? They'll win more than
So
24
if I
games.
say 24 and a half, you're good
Yeah,
taking.
I'll take 25. I'm fine with that. So let's
Yeah,
set
so
that bet.
just making sure.
I'm with that. Now, the only other thing, and then we can duck out of them, they're going to be a player in the trade market, considering just the accumulation of veteran assets that they have with the young players that they have. I don't know if there's going to be a market for LaMelo because of his cap number at 38 million, even though that's not crazy for what his high end potential is, but with the injury issues and everything with the apron. But don't be surprised if this group moves 3 or 4 of the guys that we have kind of slated in their top 15 before this season's over. I
I
fully
mean,
expect
like
that.
they do have players that other teams would like as like bench scorers,
Yeah.
guards
And
that
even
come off
guys
the
is
bench.
like when teams are trying to look for those ancillary pieces to juice up what you're doing, the Josh Greens of the world, like those are guys that teams will look for if they're getting a lesser opportunity in Charlotte because Charlotte just has so many players on their roster.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we talked about the Hornets, now it's time to talk about my Washington Wizards. I'm just gonna I'll claim it. As we said earlier, they finished dead last in their division, damn near dead last in the NBA. 28th in defensive rating, 30th in offensive rating. This obviously was a team that was intentionally trying to
Set the all-time record for worst net rating in NBA
or
history.
yeah, while the Thunder set the best offensive or
Yeah.
the best net rating
The
in
difference
NBA
between
history.
them was like 30
It was
points, something
like
crazy like
25,
that.
30.
Yeah.
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 I think it was like the Thunder were like a plus 13 and they were like a minus 12 and a half or minus 13 or something
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, the gulf was wide from that. You can use that as a scale actually if you want to. The Wizards, the Thunder. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling very wizardish. I'm having a bad day. They finished 18 and 64. So let's talk about like the actual
They were
vision.
dead last in the East. Let's start. So
Dead last in the East. Okay. So they are taking what I think is the Sam Presti route of team building. So they took last year, they took Chris Middleton. They traded Jordan Poole for CJ McCollum. Um, these are obvious to me rehab. Like not the player himself, although both of these players have had some injuries. This is a rehab of image and a rehab of value.
Yeah,
Chris,
although McCollum was as much about getting off of Jordan Poole as it was adding CJ McCollum.
yeah,
Yeah,
because he is an expiring contract and Jordan Poole has 2 more years
exactly.
at the same number. So that's a reclamation project for New Orleans, which is crazy, but that's what they're deciding to do. And then they have CJ McCollum, who is an expiring contract. They're going to create so much cap space. But in the meantime, they can use these players in their starting lineup, which is the
Well,
projected starting lineup.
just real quick while we're talking about the cap, because this is insane. Their total cap number, I don't know if you saw this, $233 million is their total cap number, which is sixth in the NBA. Their active cap number is 135.4. And for
Yep.
those that don't know, that just means contracts that are out on other teams, dead money, and all the rest of that. That's some insane work right there. You want to talk about how much available cap and what they freed up and what they're
Yes.
looking at freeing up by not signing people? That number is wild.
Their third highest paid player is Corey Kispert at $14 million.
I love
Other
it.
than the Middleton and the McCollum, both of which are expiring contracts,
Yeah.
making like 33 and 32 or something like that. Kispert's making 14 million.
That's the
Everybody
third
else
highest
is
paid
making
player.
less than that in the modern NBA. That's what you need to know about this team. So the starting five, as we projected, will be Bub Carrington, CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Bilal Coulibaly, and Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick in the draft last year.
One point, if I probably should have brought this up for those that are listening, the projected starting five is kind of a collection of what the depth chart is and some assumptions. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to force in Trey Johnson into their starting lineup.
I think eventually.
Yeah, but to start the season, especially as they're trying to inflate the value of McCollum and Middleton,
Right.
that's what's to be expected. I just say that as we go forward, some people may look at some of these things and go, why does that look that way versus what the projected starting five or depth chart in other places? Some of this was discretionary.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at you, like the whole point, like we said about rehabbing these players' values, is that they have to play.
Yeah.
Even if they play every other day or 2 out of every 3 games, they have to be on the floor and show and demonstrate value in order for the Wizards to be able to flip them at the trade deadline. And that's what I'm kind of assuming. By the end of the year, it won't be CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton in the starting lineup. They have already bought out Marcus Smart to allow him to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, which was his desire, which is another Sam Presti move. You have a veteran guy, you traded for him, you ask him, hey man, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And he goes, I just want to get out of here and I want to go give it a shot with the Lakers. Would you mind buying me out? And the Wizards say yes, because that's how you treat a veteran player who you don't have any real use for.
Doesn't it also tell you something about Marcus Smart's deflated value that you couldn't get an asset for him and instead you had to buy him out?
Well, I think here's the thing. I think maybe if they had held on to him and
But I mean, even trading him in the summer, you could, because of the cap
traded him in the summer, or they could have traded him at the trade deadline like they do the other 3.
Yeah.
But maybe they were just trying to do right by the player. It's possible.
Also, maybe they didn't want to watch a guy who shoots like 33% from the field for his career kind of stymie up their offense for the first half of the year.
I'm an Oklahoma State guy. I don't want to sit here and trash Marcus Smart, but yeah, it's
we're just being real.
He's the best offensive player I've ever seen in my life. He takes some shots that would make me pull my hair out. And he did it in college, and he especially did it in Boston. And he hasn't played real basketball in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to give him the opportunity in LA. Glad
it's a good addition for the Lakers. Let's get I sidetracked this.
It's an audition.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the guys that they added, both in the draft and in free agency. So you got Malachi Branham. We already talked about Trey Johnson. They acquired Dylan Jones from the Oklahoma City Thunder for, I believe, a second-round pick.
Yes.
I believe it was a single pick. I think that was a roster-saving move. But also, you have to remember, Oklahoma City used 3 or 4 second-round picks in order to get Dylan Jones. And as a rookie, they liked
first-round pick.
He was I think he was a late first-round pick, and they liked a lot of what he did. And I don't think this is the kind of team that should take a chance on a guy like Dylan Jones and give him actual minutes, because he was never going to get those minutes in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
They've obviously, we talked about CJ McCollum being required. They also drafted Will Riley along with Trey Johnson. And they added Cam Whitmore.
which
Another guy that's fun to take a flyer on.
yeah, and so here's now I'm going to lay it out.
Here we go.
Here's part of the problem with this group. One, they have 14 players that are 24 or younger. 14 players, and we're talking about the two guys that are the veterans being the guys that they want to unload. Who is the leadership on the floor when this team starts to look like itself? And no offense to Brian Keefe, who I think is a perfectly fine coach. That is a tough group of guys to manage from a stylistic standpoint. I saw the Wizards play Summer League 3 times, and they were a lot of fun, but it also feels like watching an AAU team half the time. And I don't even mean from a standpoint of just being like a crazy mess. It's just so many exciting young athletes who don't know how to play the game of basketball properly. And so the amount of work that you have to do to build just that foundation to get those guys there when they're all playing together, that's crazy work.
Okay, but let's be fair. The NBA trade deadline is in February of 2020, February 12th, 2026. Okay, so you're going to get November, December, January, and a little bit of, so you're getting 3 months of veteran guys if these guys can stay healthy.
If they can stay healthy, and it's two veterans. It's not like they have a bunch of like imagine how difficult. Just think about like the demographics of the
Is Corey Kispert not a veteran then?
I mean, yeah, I guess he qualifies as a veteran. That's fair. Yeah.
But got a second contract.
So let's say we count Corey Kispert. Let's say they've got 15 guys in the locker room. 3 of those guys, 20% of them are going to be your veterans, and they're going to have to try to outvoice and really be the mature space in the room for 80% of your guys being two or guys who have played 1, 2, or 3 years in the league in bad situations. That's just a real difficult uphill climb in terms of what you have to do to teach these guys. And they are going to be a team that I think I think they want to be worse than the Hornets do from a draft standpoint to be able to get in another high draft pick in this coming draft. So I also expect them to let these guys make a lot more mistakes than the Hornets are going to be allowed to make. So these rookies are going to come in. We're going to have some Trey Johnson games where he goes 5 of 21. You're not going to see that from
every rookie, though. They're going to have games like that. Here's my counterpoint. The veterans on the team last year were Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole. So,
I mean,
you can't do much worse.
You were a Kuzma guy for a hot minute.
I was a Kuzma guy in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and how that worked out.
Wizards. I wanted the idea of Kyle Kuzma for what Milwaukee needed, and also that was a Milwaukee that had Dame Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo,
and he still proved to be a Kyle Kuzma. But your point remains the same. But the thing is, but it's not like you say that, but it's not like we looked at Washington last year and was like, man, they were a really mature team despite those veterans. Like, it's gonna be they're still gonna have some of those issues.
I'm saying, look who was leading them last year.
Yeah,
Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma jacking up 20 shots a game apiece. So how are you supposed to get better if those are your vets? Those are the leaders on your team?
I don't disagree. All I'm saying is I mean,
you can say what you want about CJ McCollum, but like he has at least some modicum of respect in the league because he was the player association president.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. But all I'm saying is, to me, that means they go from 18 wins to 23 wins.
Okay, so is that your number, 23 and a half?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that? 23 and 58. Yeah, I don't even
23 and 59. Yeah.
I don't even know if excuse me, bad math. I don't even know if I get them there, to be honest with you. I still think they'll be one of the 3 worst teams in the NBA next year.
I think they want to be. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
And okay, fine. Like I like the collection of players on Washington a hell of a lot more than I like Charlotte. They both want to be bad.
I like the collection of players on Washington more than I like the collection of players on Charlotte 3 or 4 years from now.
All right, I'm writing down these overs. By the way,
yeah, no, that's great. Also,
on paper,
I had to watch Alex Hart Summer League again, and
you and I talked about this.
As immensely talented as that kid is, his feel for the game is painful.
Yeah,
and
he has no physicality. He doesn't assert himself at all. He has no presence for his size. He cannot be that on the offensive side of the ball. I will say that he does try defensively.
And who on this roster is he going against in practice that's making him better? Tristan Vucevic?
Ugh, I don't know, man. That's bad.
Like
Still,
they
like,
need,
I still am not out on Koulibaly. I'm still like,
but I'm
I
just saying they
want
need
to
to
see
add a veteran
Barbarian
center for
develop.
this guy to practice against.
Marvin Bagley? Is he playing against Marvin Bagley? I'm just naming names. It's
I'm
not.
not dignifying that with a
Yeah, no,
response.
it's not response worthy. All right. So we covered the bottom of the team. Now we actually, for the first time in the Southeast Division. I'm sorry. Is there anything else you want to say about the
No,
Wizards?
no, 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 we're good. We're good.
I didn't think you did. But for the first time in many years, the top part of this division is kind of competitive.
Spicy. It's spicy.
It's kind of because the next team we're going to talk about is the 37 and 45 Miami Heat, who were actually, in the play-in. They finished 10th in the East last year. Obviously had to deal with the Jimmy Butler drama. They got off that. But every move they've made this offseason, really good on the fringes, really good in the rotational pieces.
Yeah, and not even the fringes when you think about Norman Powell. Like, I mean,
No, not Norm.
yeah,
No, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to start with the fringe guys.
Oh,
And
sorry.
no. You're right. You're right. Because Norm Powell was like, that adds a new level of dimension to the offense where it's not just Hero and Bam do something offensively, because I don't think Bam's comfortable with that. And I don't want that with Tyler Hero. If I'm the Miami Heat, I don't want him having to like self create all the time. You'd rather have him have somebody who's like was a secondary creator next to him. That was supposed to be Terry Rozier. Obviously, he fell off a cliff and he's dealing with these federal gambling charges. So, he's under investigation. That's a whole thing. I have to admit, I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and they were just laughing about the idea that like if anybody could get off Terry Rozier's number, his high, I think he's making like 25 million. It would
I
be
don't
the
remember
Miami
exact, but
Heat.
it's high. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Miami Heat are going to get off his contract because he's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
No, they're going to find a way to be like, is this voided? Because like this,
Yeah, what clause is in there exactly? The
yeah,
imprisonment
there's
clause?
got to
Like,
be some like good person clause that like he broke.
yeah.
Some good Samaritan clause. I don't know. But let's talk about. So we talked about Tyler Hero, Norm Powell. This is who we think is going to be the starting five. I could see it being uh sorry, I'm forgetting his name at the moment.
Davion
Dave.
Mitchell. So,
I could see it. I'm just
yeah,
saying I do think Norm Powell is the right answer, but I could see them staying with Davion just for defensive stuff. I don't think he's going to be nearly as good a shooter as he was. I think he shot like 46% last year, something crazy
with them, he
with the Heat. Yes,
not
that's
on the
what I mean.
season with the Heat. Yeah, he was really good in his
Yeah,
stretch with them. I think the problem that happens there is your guard rotation. Even though Davion Mitchell is so good about being able to guard up size wise, is just too small because the Hero can't really defend anybody, and then Mitchell has to be stuck guarding twos all the time, and that's not
and
ideal.
he's undersized to do that job
Yeah, I
too.
mean he's
And
undersized to guard me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But he's feisty. And you
yeah.
know what? I got a
Shot
special place in my heart for guys who are dogs like
he
that.
shot 45% from three with
Yeah.
the Heat. Now, in credit to him, he was 40% the year before as well. So he wasn't bad. He shot well. The volume just got up with the Heat, and was still he was a great addition for them. It's a good signing. The style that the Heat play, without using the overused term, he fits right into that. I like him more as an energy guy off your bench anyways, because the way he likes to get into people and push the tempo and stuff, that just makes more sense as a bench guy, but I understand your point.
Do we have a little guard like all-star team for guys who are kind of annoying and feisty to play against?
Yeah,
Like
so is it him and Jose Alvarado?
and Keon Ellis
Yeah.
and Fred Van Vliet and uh Dennis Schroeder, just like guys you're like, why are they so annoying? Chris,
Yeah.
we'll call him the Chris Paul.
The Chris Paul All-Stars.
The Chris Paul all defensive team. It's just little guys.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Little
he's
guys who piss you off.
piss you off.
Yeah.
Alvarado is definitely one. That was a good. I forgot about him for
Yeah.
a minute. But yeah, I was thinking of the other because I'm a huge Keon Ellis guy,
Yeah.
and I'm still a fan. Anyway, getting sidetracked. We still Hero, Powell, Wiggins, Adebayo, and Kalel Ware. Excuse me. That's what we're
Superman.
expecting to be their starting lineup. I could see it going other ways. I could see Highsmith getting the start and Bam Adebayo being at the 5. I don't think that that's the best way to go. We already talked about Mitchell maybe being in there for Powell and giving Powell, the secondary point guard minutes, offensive creator minutes. Um, but we need to talk about the additions. We got Fontecchio, Jakachunas, their rookie,
Yeah.
that they're very high on, that they were everyone was really,
Yakachionis.
Jakuchionis?
Yakuchionis.
I don't believe that's how I've ever heard it pronounced in my life.
Kasparis Yakachionis. That's what it is.
No, I've just never heard it said well. I've never heard
yeah.
it because no one's been saying it right.
Yeah, and I tested it against a couple people. Unless they were saying it wrong, as far as I know, it's Kasparis Yakachionis.
Yakachionis.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's a fun name.
Maybe somebody's threw a hard Jakachionis, but yeah.
I've heard of, it's a hard J.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they still got guys that can I ask you a question? How do you feel about Jovic? Because I really don't get it. And I've been trying to figure it out.
I could see it at the end of 2 seasons ago because of the size and the shooting ability and some of the stuff he can do on the move. This last year, he just looked lost. But
he looks lost all the time.
I also just thought Erik Spoelstra seemed frustrated with his younger players last year and was giving a lot of guys really quick hooks for making bad decisions. And I think it was a reflection of just how frustrating the Heat season was. But Jovic and Jaime Jaquez got really marginalized after, especially Jaquez looking as good as he did his rookie year. He was so down last season just in terms of his quality of play. And I'm not blaming Erik Spoelstra, but Erik Spoelstra obviously has a tried and true process of trusting his guys. And some of the mistakes those guys need to be able to make in their developmental process, it felt like they weren't given as much leash as maybe they needed, but also the Heat didn't have enough room for error to be able to absorb the mistakes those guys were making. So I'm not blaming Spoelstra for it. It's really a push-pull dynamic that's very difficult as a coach to manage with those guys. I'm not high on Jovic, but I still get the kind of rough outlines of what people think he is. I mean, I don't know that he's 6'10", but you've seen him listed as big as that. He can shoot. He can do some stuff when he catches on the move. He's not really going to make any plays for other people, but when you get him downhill, he can finish because of his length. I think at this point, he's the type of guy that if you're your eighth or ninth,
better on paper.
Yeah, 100%. But if he's your eighth or ninth
telling me how good he is, and I'm like, show me one game where he put the entire game together.
Yeah. He had a couple games last year where he exploded for a big number, but it wasn't enough to.
Yeah, but that's just scoring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see a full.
Yeah, he doesn't give you much of anything else.
Yeah, he's just if you're just telling me the guy's big and he shoots, you just had that's Duncan Robinson stretched out. It's you just have this.
And now, one, because of the cost, there's a reason Duncan's no longer there, and Duncan did, to credit to himself, expanded his game considerably off the dribble.
That's what I'm waiting to.
The theory of Jovic, I mean, he averaged almost 11 points per game. He shot 46% from the field. That's not terrible for a third-year guy playing the power forward spot.
I think it's just I keep getting told how good he is.
Yeah, and like I said, you're not getting told from me. So
yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just trying to understand it because when I watch Heat games, I'm just like, he's fine. Yeah. But why, people are like, oh, they can get rid of these guys because they've got Jovic in the wing, so he can just slide into the role. And I'm like, what role is he sliding into?
Eighth man.
He's not I don't know. I'm a little bit lost. I'm still high on Haywood Highsmith. Big fan of his.
But Haywood Highsmith is just kind of like a fun fill-in piece. I
like him. Miami's always had guys like that.
Of course, that's what they do.
Yeah, they find these guys that just they work in their system and their, I'm not going to say the word, but
we're both avoiding it. I love it.
I don't want to say it. I'm tired of it.
Pelle Larsson is next man.
I was just about to bring him up.
Yeah. I really liked what I saw from him. This is what they do. They develop players that are great tertiary fits and good players. Other teams think that they're better than they are. The Heat sell high on them, and then they become Kendrick Nunn. Or they become who was the other guy that the Lakers got? Who actually played well for them down the stretch last season, the shooter. I'm just blanking out on his name right now.
Yeah, I am too. The guy
from Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara. Wow.
I know.
It'll
I'm
come
mad at
against
both
them.
of us.
But that's what the Heat do. Like that's what they always do. I think that's what we're looking at with Jovic. Jovic will go somewhere else and be probably disappointing for the other team, and people will be too excited about it. That's just their brand of
Yeah,
basketball.
this is like it's like players who play under Eric Spoelstra. It was Gabe Vincent, by the way.
Thank you, Gabe Vincent. Jesus.
The guys who play under Eric Spoelstra are like like the way we think about guys who play with Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, he goes somewhere else, and you're just like, oh wait, you're not nearly as good as the guy we saw in Denver. What happened? You're like, well, see, there's this guy, and he's the greatest basketball player on planet Earth. And I played next to him, and everyone just looks at him and doesn't look at me.
Yeah.
So Brooklyn is about to get about to be the next team to find out what it's like to get a cast off from the Denver Nuggets. Because just like the Magic found out, it turns out that those guys don't play nearly as well when they're not surrounded by the greatest player on the planet.
And we don't need to kill KCP, but you and I were blowing that horn before he ever stepped on the floor. I mean, before we were co-hosts on a podcast, we were on another podcast.
I was on a different podcast being like, I don't like this move.
Yes,
and I also don't like MPJ in Brooklyn. But that's,
yeah.
We can talk about that some other time. But when we cover the Brooklyn division, so last year they finished 37-45. I was just looking up some of the Vegas odds. They have 3 sports books. The low is 37.5. The high is 40.5. Between those numbers, you going higher, lower?
So I'll go 40. Like I think they win.
I could see them being a 40 to 41 win team.
I think they win 40 games. I think they go 40-42. I do want to say real quick, I like the Simone Fontecchio addition.
I do think he's good for them.
I think he's a good player. Yeah, he's a good player. He can shoot the 3. The Norman Powell fit's going to be a really good fit. The challenge is going to be that they have to decide who they think he is because of his age and the fact that he's up for an extension.
Which is exactly why the Clippers got rid of Norman Powell. They
exactly. Yeah, this is going to be your typical Heat team where they're going to be feisty. They're going to be frustrating at times offensively. You're going to get kind of there's going to be moments where people are going to probably want to over-aggrandize what their entire defensive profile is, but teams also aren't going to want to play them. Tyler Hero being your best offensive player to me is a limitation that is greater than the numbers reflect, particularly in the fourth quarter. You and I talked about it early towards halfway through last season, just how bad he was in clutch in fourth quarter minutes. And it's because he has to be able to create. And I still don't think they have enough stuff here offensively to get excited about. But, they've got like you look at that starting 5, that's a good starting 5. Like it's an interesting starting 5, but Khalil Ware tends to disappear. We already talked about him getting called out. Andrew Wiggins tends to disappear. Bam Adebayo with the 4 is just not as effective as he is as 5 as an offensive player. Everybody loves that he shot more threes. He scaled up to making 1 3 per game and taking 2.8 threes. He shot 36%. He also averaged his lowest points per game since the 20 season. Yeah. He's a great defensive player. 6 straight years, top 10 defensive player of the year voting. That last year was the first time in those 6 years he wasn't top 5. So yeah, I just have to see what Bam looks like. Like, is he becoming more of a marginalized player as they try to stretch his skill set? Is some of it reflective of him being over leveraged without Jimmy there? There's a lot of parts that they have to figure out before I can feel solid about this group in totality.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the problem with Bam is that we just assume with a lot of players, especially great ones, that an increased workload, we just increase their productivity.
It scales, yeah. And it doesn't always scale.
Like, well, if you scale up his minutes, you're going to scale up his productivity and his ability to do all these things. And it turns out there's a depreciating value to that. There's a limit to what a player can be. And I don't think that we've reached like Bam Adebayo's ceiling, but I do think that you've seen what he can be defensively. I don't think we've reached his full potential as an offensive player, but there's also a very realistic possibility that he never reaches that.
Yeah. He's probably not ever going to be a guy that puts up 24 points per game in the NBA.
He's not Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
Like he's not 24 and 12.
Did you give your number for them?
I think I said 41 and 41. I literally think I saw them as being 500 unless they make a move, obviously. It's funny. While we were sitting here, I was just kind of looking at the LeBron James odds about like who would land him, who would end up having him, and Miami's not on the list. And I
Oh,
just kind
really?
of funny. Yeah, it's the Cavs, the Mavs, the Warriors, the Suns, the Bucks, and the Knicks. That's kind of the order that I'm seeing. Um, but I thought the Knicks are low, and I thought it was crazy Miami wasn't on there.
The
But
LeBron for Cat trade is in play. I'm just saying that now because it makes so much sense for both teams. So much sense. I think I said it like 2 podcasts ago, but it makes so much sense. The
oh
Knicks get to
man,
clear their books. The Lakers get to get a guy that they can tell themselves they get to match up with Luka. Like it makes so much
Bodega Cat becomes a Calico Cat.
sense.
I kind of like it in a weird way. But you're relying on two guys that I mean, I don't like to go all podcast bro about it, but like a couple of guys that are kind of soft. You got Aiton and Cat playing next to each other. I'm not sure if that's my favorite thing in the world, but
But the enjoyment we'd get out of
the
Luca's
joy,
massive
the meme.
frustration would be worth it all. Yeah, that is high meme content,
I
my friend.
want, I want like, is there like Cat ASMR where he's like, oh my God, that's a foul.
For
Uh,
those that are not familiar, that's a shout out to many podcasts ago. Please
yeah,
go
yeah.
check out the Cat Hot compilation of
Yeah,
him.
man. We do throwbacks on this. Yeah,
Yeah,
we do callback jokes
yeah.
on this podcast.
Boomerang.
So,
All right.
that's why you got to be regular listeners.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I said I just have the Heat at 41 and 41. I could honestly seeing it go bad for them. You know, Tyler Hero's dealt with a lot of injuries, and this team can really plummet. But they're also in a really nice position where they could make some moves at the deadlines. I'm not sure they could attract like a star player. They have that kind of package available to them. I'd have to look at their draft assets.
They do if they want to lose some of the like. I mean, obviously they don't want to get rid of Khalil Ware, but they have some young pieces. Whether or not
Maybe
they
they
can,
do.
whether or not they can reclaim Jaime Jaquez's value. But there's enough
Yeah,
guys
I
like
was curious about that.
no, but
I'm not fully out on Jaquez, but I was
yeah,
like, he hit his ceiling a lot faster than I thought he was going to, I guess. But that might have been just been a sophomore wall and not a full like denigration of him as a player. But yeah, it was a regression. But
and
like,
there was definite confidence issues. You could see it just in how he
yeah,
played last year, and I think some of that was reflective of what we talked about at the jump of this breakdown with the Heat.
100%. Yeah. So that's the Miami Heat, number 3 in the division. Uh, then we get to go into the top two. Now I'm going to let you choose. Who do you think is going to be higher out of these two, the Atlanta Hawks or the Orlando Magic?
I've got the Magic as the best team in the division.
I do too, but
Okay.
I would be willing to have the thought exercise.
Yeah. Well, for
You know
me,
how high I've been on the Hawks, and I haven't been this high on the Hawks in years. I'm
yeah,
usually shitting on the Hawks.
you and Zach Lowe,
So
my
someone tries
friend.
to tell me that they're good, I get mad.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're the
Well,
same fucking team with the same problems, but now they've made decisions and moves to where this isn't the same team. It's not
listen
the
to
same.
how your vocal inflection even changed. It went from the Tom Thibodeau to this like
Yeah.
flowery, like positive thing. I love it.
I've always been a Quinn Snyder guy. I was actually super high on him, and I couldn't believe that he went to Atlanta. I kind of thought that was like he made the decision to get back into coaching, and he was just like, "I'll choose to whoever wants to pick me up." And I was like, "Dude, there's better jobs coming. Like, just wait."
You
But
mean
now,
Sally Jesse ATL? Um,
get off the man's red glasses. But goddamn,
I mean, he got off of him unfortunately because so many people were making fun of him. I love it. Like I love a unique look. Like making fun of something doesn't mean I don't appreciate it.
You're
But
right. Dude, that's a great joke.
yeah.
Me
Um,
too.
but so wow.
That ruined me.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's so good.
So I'll let you get into the let's do the breakdown
Yeah,
of what they were last season. Then I'll talk about why I had them just a notch below what I think Orlando is in the regular season.
just real quick. Did you see that video of the little girl that was singing like Project Pat or something like that
I,
at the
I,
Mexican
I
food?
have not.
It's this little white girl rapping along, and everyone in the restaurant's getting down to it. And they called her Hannah Atlanta, and it destroyed me. I couldn't help it.
I
Okay,
love it. Yeah.
that's a. I've been on TikTok and Instagram too much recently, so that would explain that. So we're going to talk about the Atlanta Hawks. They were also second in the division last year. They were eighth in the Eastern Conference, 17th in offensive rating, 18th in defensive rating. They were without Jalen Johnson. They were without a lot of, well, I mean, obviously the teams had a lot of turnover, but Atlanta was, they kind of limped their way into the playoffs last year. They were
As
obviously
they tend to
healthy.
do.
Yeah, this is true. So they've decided to make a few additions to the team. The first big one, Kristaps Porzingis, brought over in a trade with the Boston Celtics. They sent back George Niang. They also acquired in free agency Nickeil Alexander Walker. Was he a $60 million? Was he a 4 year 60? Was it higher than that?
No,
That's,
it's that's a good question. He
I can't
got right. I thought he got close to 20.
64.
I thought he got close to 20 a year. So I'll take a look, but keep going.
Yeah, okay. So they had Nickeil Alexander Walker, who had a really great playoff. They added Luke Kennard. They had a desperate need for shooting. I know Denver had interest in him. I know Memphis wanted to retain him. Luke Kennard, with not a great defensive player, but just an excellent knockdown shooter. I think he is consistently near the top of the league in 3-point percentage almost every year in like the 45, 46% range. I mean, a guy like that, he's always going to have value. Um,
I
they
misspoke. Nikhil was 4 for 60. My fault. That my
4 for
brain's
60. Yeah,
again.
that's
My brain is
again,
not here with me today, guys. I'm sorry.
no, you're totally fine. That was about what I thought he got. So I mean, I should know these things instead of just guessing. But those were the big additions. The players that went out, Karis LeVert, is he's with Detroit.
Yes.
Uh, George Niang, like we spoke about, he's with Boston, who is desperately trying to duck the tax. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he was a trade candidate at some point during the season, depending on how Boston's season goes. They're getting in their second year from Zachary Richichet. They still have Vic Krejci, Dyson Daniels, Kobe Buffkin. There's a Jalen Johnson, obviously coming back from injury. I have Onyeka and Kogwu penciled in as a starting center. I believe you do as well. Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Richichet, Jalen Johnson, Onyeka and Okongwu, and then Porzingis, letting him figure out what the hell is wrong with his body and allowing him to come
Head,
off the bench.
shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Yeah.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes. I don't know you. I'm the one with the Operation Game tattoo, but if Chris Stops needs an idea for a tattoo, I think it would work for him as well.
He should just have one of those, like the
Yeah,
the Leonardo da
the
Vinci,
Vitruvian man.
the Vitruvius man, and then he can
Yeah,
just point to it on his body. It's like my rib. It's my
yeah,
rib that hurts. And they're
yeah,
like, cool, all right. And he
yeah,
just circles it with a red marker.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of all the additions to this team. I love Asa Newell. I love like their entire bench, really. I love all the guys that are going to be backing up Trae Young. I love the team that they built around Trae Young's deficiencies because he is still a gifted offensive player. He's, like 22 and 11 every year, consistently that. He's not a good defensive player. He's never going to be.
No, but he gave more
He
effort
tries hard.
at time. He gave more effort last year and he was locked
Yeah.
more in.
He
And to
stopped
your
gambling as much on steals, which is
well, and
also
also he just stopped. He used to give up on the play so early on in terms
well,
of
he
the
would do
action.
he would try to do the back tap
Yeah,
steal thing
or if
because
he got screened off, he just kind of duck out. Like
yeah,
that
he would
stuff
die under the
stopped.
screen every time and
Yeah,
he'd get either stuck on a horrible mismatch or he'd leave the opposing defender stuck on a horrible
yeah.
or his teammate stuck on a horrible mismatch. And see, but he's done less of that. He's trying harder on ball. It's just, that's not much you can do when you're a 6 foot guard who's like 180 pounds.
Yeah, and 180 pounds is probably being generous,
I'm
and
being very nice.
6 foot only when the full fake hair is working. So, anyways,
You one of those New York guys that are just chanting that he's a bald guy?
well, I mean, that was the
Trey
joke.
would look weird if he was bald.
Well, the joke was last season that he went to Turkey.
Oh,
Now I don't know that. That's and for anybody out there, don't quote that. That's just me trying to be funny. Like, first of all, do you whatever you have to do to look comfortable. That never matters. But
I'm going to go off on a weird tangent here. You have two options. You can either shame someone for being bald but you can't shame them if they're going to try and get their baldness fixed.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make the jokes about bald dudes, you can either make fun of them for being bald, or you can make fun of them for like not being super comfortable with being bald.
What I was making
Two
fun of was
options. You
that
can't
he
make
was
fun of them
taller
for,
because of the addition of the hair.
yeah, that's
That's
what I'm
all.
saying. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like,
Yeah.
we're always like making fun of bald dudes, and then we're like, then we see them going to get their hair transplants in Turkey, and we're like, ha ha ha. You're like, dude, you shamed them into that. What are they supposed to do? They're
Oh,
like, they can't
fair
win.
enough. Yeah.
Bald dudes can't win, man.
Yeah.
And
Can't
we're
can't win
just
on any
lucky
of it.
that we're two dudes with thick heads of hair, but you know,
After this conversation, we're gonna all of a sudden be
I'll
pulling
say I might.
strands out. Like,
I
oh,
keep
what's
telling
going
my
on?
barber, and I was like, it's like the airport up there. If you see something, say something. You
Yeah.
know, I need to know. And he said I'm good, so I'm
Yeah.
going to the barber again tomorrow. We'll see what he says. But
So,
anyway,
yeah. So
tell me what you think.
well, the first thing for me is the additions you've got to love. Like, no matter what, when
Yeah,
we talk about the asset costs and all the rest of it, one of the things I really love with Nikhil Alexander Walker, much like Dyson Daniels, is it allows for you to have a guy that can play both on ball and off ball. And so you can do some things in terms of inverting stuff defensively when you need to. You can have Trey, who was a little bit more willing, and hopefully he continues to be a little bit more willing to get off the ball and then be a threat as a shooter, because everybody is going to tilt if that guy is getting the ball in those positions. I love that. The other thing I like is I expect Kobe Buffkin to have more of a role as offensive punch off the bench. He's another small scoring guard. He looked good in summer
yeah.
league this year. I liked him last year. So with Nikhil Alexander Walker, Dyson Daniels, you have a really good combination of guards as a 4-guard rotation of guys that can really help complement each other. You can't put Buffkin and Young on the floor together unless you just want to get murdered
Yeah.
defensively, but you can do enough where you don't have to overtax Dyson Daniels trying to compensate for those two guys. I like that. The Porzingis thing, I don't buy that he's going to be able to be healthy. I think in the regular season, that's not going to matter so much. You and I had talked about how much better Onyeka Okongwu played in the second half of last season. Not enough people were giving that man credit for the way
He
he
was
played
excellent.
in the team's last 30 games. He was more aggressive. There's limitations because he really is power forward size playing at center. And that's what's nice about, hopefully once it comes playoff time, maybe you scale him to the 4, you put Johnson to the 3, where Johnson's size at the 3 is a matchup nightmare for anybody, because if you haven't seen Jalen Johnson live, that dude is huge and he has ball skills and he shoots it well enough to play the 3. He's at their depth chart as the 3, but I expect him to be the 4 right now because it just doesn't make sense to have Porzingis be your starter. And Richache needs to continue to develop and grow some of the stuff we saw with him. My only concern with this group is when you actually look at their roster, they're younger than you think. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
young players that are still in the process of development that have to mean something to this team when you talk about Okongwu and Richache and Daniels and Buffkin. Like, these are primary guys, and even Johnson. These are all guys who are 4 years or below in terms of their terms of service in the league. And
Mhm.
I don't think that people are paying enough attention to that, because Trey Young, for everything that he may be, I don't think of him as being a great leader. So they're just going to have to figure some of that stuff out. I think they will along the way. I think Quinn Snyder's the right coach for that. But I mean, Asa Newell, another guy that should be in their rotation, another young player. They just have some stuff there where if injuries
Yeah.
or anything else offset that, there could be some bumps and bruises during the regular season. And I think figuring some of that stuff out during the regular season could be more difficult for them from an identity standpoint than the Magic. And that's why I have the Hawks a notch below the Magic as a regular season team, and probably as a
Completely
playoff team,
understand
to be
that.
honest.
Well, I mean, Joe, just real quick, I just want to touch on the last 30 games of Onyeka Okongwu, 16, 11, and 2.5 assists.
I had him
Uh,
on my
I
fantasy
mean,
team. He was a monster.
yeah, he was. I mean, just getting that kind of production out of a center that you weren't really sure exactly what he was, and then he just kind of emerges from, and like with an identified role and an understanding of where he's supposed to be on the floor. He was fantastic for them. Um, yeah, I mean, there is just a lot of questions about like rotational stuff, like how Quinn Snyder is going to play these lineups. Yeah, how healthy are some of these guys like Porzingis, and how healthy is Jalen Johnson? We've seen him get hurt multiple times now. Missed almost, like, wasn't his shoulder? He missed almost the entirety of like the second half of last season.
Yeah.
these kind of things are worrisome. Yeah, experience is a problem, but I also think that Quinn Snyder's a really smart coach. Uh,
Agreed.
I just don't. So like we said, like at the top of this, we kind of said they were 17th in offensive rating, they were 18th in defensive rating. I could see this team that finished 40 and 42 last year being 48 and 34. That's kind of my prediction. I have them in the 48 and 34 range. It could be a lot higher if they really click. 50 wins seems like a lot, but the Eastern Conference is very down next year. Um, so, but what I want to see is at like one of those ratings be either offensive or defensive. Can you be top 12 in one of those? Because that's the kind of like turnover year over year that like middling to good teams make. I
Yeah,
know
and
he's
I
an
I actually
improvement.
believe that both sides of the ball they can crack the top 12. To be
If
honest,
they can do it on both sides,
I
then
believe that's
50
possible.
wins is very doable because the Eastern
Yeah.
Conference is so down. So I
Man, Trey Young winning 50 games. A real quick question: what do you think Trey Young's all-time record is with the Hawks?
like total wins and losses.
Yeah. Now, granted, I'm looking at StatMuse, so take this with a grain of salt. I'm just happy they didn't show me what Steve Young's all-time record is. But
How many years has he been in the league?
this, I believe, the six, if I remember correctly.
Six. Okay, I'm gonna say uh, that's. I'm gonna say that he's got 220 wins.
That's pretty good. So that's really good. Damn, 219 and 264 is his all-time record.
Yeah, I was giving him a pass on the first couple of years where they were probably bad, and then he's literally been league. They've been like 40 and 42, like every year the last 4 years.
Yeah,
So it
I
was
mean,
like, so I was like, so I'm gonna give him a 500 record and then dip him a little bit low on the first 2 years. I bet he's like got a 450 win or like a 400 winning percentage.
I was incorrect because I forgot. Of course, he was part of. He was the same year Luca came in, so it's seven. It's 7 seasons in
2018.
the league.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was my guess. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I have them, like I said, I'm gonna say 48 and 34.
I
No,
don't.
it's tough. Because he could
This,
go both ways. They could really
this feels like such a cop out, but I am very uncomfortable giving a Trey Young team 50 wins, so I'm going to say 49.
49 for you,
And I
49
would
and
have said it
43.
free of what you were going to say anyways because I just don't feel comfortable. Like I still, as for as much as I wrote a piece last year when I was still writing actively about the improvements that I appreciated in Trey Young's games and the little things I saw when I saw him at the NBA Cup game. But I need to see wholesale buy-in for a full season and what this all looks like. I'm gonna say 49. Yeah.
Hey, that's completely fair. I was just gonna say 48 wins for this Hawks team is special. that that is a huge thing for them. And I don't yeah, like 48, 49 wins. I think any Atlanta fan would be thrilled to see that. So, I mean, what would that have been last year? Where would they have been in the standings? Like, who finished like 48 wins? Wasn't that like Milwaukee's range? Yeah, Milwaukee
Yeah.
was the fifth seed. And then, so if you want to, like, them going from like being the 10th, the perennial 10th seed and always in the play-in to being fifth, like, that would be something for them.
And the Hawks have won more than 48 games one time since the 2011 season. And that was
Yeah.
that wild year where they won 60 games in 15
Yeah.
and
They
lost
all,
in the first round.
yep, and lost in the first round. That's also
No,
important.
excuse me. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals that was actually to I believe, the Cavs that year. I take that back. I'm
That was
sorry.
the Joe Johnson, Kyle Korver, Dennis Schroeder, Al Horford,
Yeah, they
uh,
had the four All Stars.
the four All Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeff
well, let's
Teague.
keep asking these four All Star teams how that keeps working out for them.
No lies told there.
Sorry, Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'll get to you eventually. All right. So this is the last one. The team that won the Southeast Division with a beautiful record of 41 and 41. You know what? The NBA needs to do a better job of making divisional games matter. That's what the NFL nails. They nail.
Yeah.
Cowboys play the Eagles and it's primetime TV every time because they're in the NFC East, even though Dallas is in the middle of the goddamn country. If you can make where Orlando is playing the Hawks 4 times a year, and these games like divisions really matter. I don't know. It seems like there's something there. Anyway, the Orlando Magic, number one in the East last year. They're piss
Number
poor.
one in the division, seventh in the East.
Yeah, number one. I said East. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Seventh in the East. Their pitiful offensive rating, 27th in the league, but their defensive rating, second. But guess what, buddy? They have an offensive identity now, and his name is Desmond Bane, and he's here to break backs and shoot threes. I am so excited to see he is a picture perfect fit for a team that needs his exact skill set. Adding Desmond Bane is like adding 2 players, in my opinion. They did get rid of the crowd favorite, Cole Anthony. It's tough to see, but he landed in Milwaukee. Good for him. They added Tyus Jones, which is another great addition for them. They just need a low turnover point guard, table setter kind of guy. Tyus Jones will have a job in this league until he's like 50 years old if he just keeps doing that.
Yeah.
At the table.
Somehow making less money annually than his brother, but sure.
We don't. Yeah, I mean, you can talk to your agent there, bud. And then the real big numbers were the extensions. Paolo Banchero got his big extension. Franz Wagner the year before got his, and then Jalen Suggs also getting paid. That's a lot of guys.
This cap is set to blow in one season, and so one of the things that's a little wild to
monitor when his kicks in.
Yeah, when Paolo kicks in, because right now they're top 3 in terms of their cap hit. Franz at 38.7, Desmond Bane at 36.7, Jalen Suggs at 35, and then Paolo gets paid.
And then Paolo gets he got the trade. He also got the escalators.
Yeah, correct? But he basically got the same deal that Franz got in that same range, where it's like you get up to 275 or whatever it is.
I mean, I just have a problem with like these small market teams feel like they have to give these guys everything. Can you negotiate a little bit harder with these guys and just be like, hey, look, man, you're gonna get this, you're gonna get the contract, and you're gonna get the all NBA, the escalators, but we're getting a team option.
The Suggs deal, to me, as big as I am on Jalen Suggs, feels like the most difficult one to justify, because Franz and Paolo are both guys who have put up all NBA numbers. Franz to me, if he qualifies for the whole season last year, is probably an all NBA player when you look at his total stat line and what he did in the first half of the year, despite how poorly he ended up shooting it from the 3.
Yeah, I love Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I love Jalen Suggs. I'm obsessed with what he can do as a defensive table setter and culture setter and everything else. I actually saw him at the airport and almost kind of just ran up to him. Was like, look, dude, I don't want to bother you, but I just want to tell you, like, the way that you navigate screens is like chef's kiss. But it was late at night. He was traveling back from Summer League. I wanted to let the dude chill his thing. But his is the one that feels like that's a little rich, but he was so fundamental. Like, Franz goes down, they weather the storm. Paolo goes down, they weather the storm. Jalen Suggs goes down, and all of a sudden they were struggling like hell. And that was a little wild. And if you're Jalen Suggs' agent, you just go, yeah, that's
you literally just have to show your on-off numbers.
Yeah.
Pay me.
Yeah.
Or find somebody else who can do what I do.
Yes. And there is
very few
guys in the league, maybe, and I don't know that there's anybody that does it as well as he does.
As good of a, like you said, culture setter.
Yeah.
Is emerged as their point guard.
Yeah.
And it's that good defensively.
And the real nice thing about the Desmond Bane addition is I will never love Jalen Suggs as a pure point guard. He's a perfectly adequate distributor, but he's not a natural playmaker in the way.
No, he's emerged in the role.
Yeah, but with Desmond Bane, and more importantly, because Paolo and Franz do so much of their distribution off their stuff, you can afford that with Jalen Suggs. And so the fits on all the levels are great. I'm worried about what they're going to look like at the center position, because Wendell Carter Jr. has just become kind of a shell of the player we thought he was. Shot the ball really poorly last year. Goga Bitadze is fine in a fill-in role. Just watch your head. But if he's your starter, he's over leveraged, even though he had a big stretch there in December where he's putting up some huge numbers. But I don't want to have to rely on him. But overall, this Magic roster, it fits really well. The offensive stuff you and I talked about last year it has to get more creative. And it really has to now, based on what
Yeah.
the personnel is. I can't be watching one guy operating and four guys just standing around. That I will lose my crap if
Yeah.
Desmond Bain
You've
is just
sent me
stuck in the
clips.
corner. Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you have sent me clips of the Orlando Magic games that I was not watching, and you're like, angrily, you were just like, look at this shit. Look at what
yeah,
they're doing. And you were
yeah.
just so mad. And I was like, I've never heard you that mad about like a team's offensive system. It was like I would get these segments, I would have such joy because I was like, oh, this is my team. But like, I was like, why is he so mad? And I was like, ooh, this
Yeah.
is really bad.
Stagnant would be an understatement. Now
Yeah.
I like some of the bench guys. Jace Richardson, it's a perfect situation for what his limitations are. Tristan Da Silva now gets to scale back down a little bit because he needed to matter too much. Jonathan Isaac gets to be weaponized as that crazy defensive guy. And can they get anything out of Jett Howard?
I was going to ask about Anthony Black, actually. I thought that's
Yeah.
who you were going to bring up. Yeah.
But yeah, Anthony Black. My biggest concern with Anthony Black is that the concept of Anthony Black is going to be better than the execution of Anthony Black.
Yeah,
And
I think I just like we literally just did this when we were talking about other players, but now you're getting to a player that like I'm still kind of high on, and I want Anthony Black to be like, wait, like is he still good? Like does he
yeah,
still have the potential? And I don't hear enough people talking about him, so I don't know if I'm alone on this island.
so I'm not selling my stock yet because the thing that I love about him is that dude competes. Like
That's what I've seen. That's why I like him.
he's got some feisty
He's
MFer in him.
dogged.
Yeah, and if the shot is obviously the swing skill set for him, but great size, can really operate in the open court. I just don't know, like, what does that look like on a team where they only need 25 minutes from him, and can he give enough in that role with his limitations, or do we see his game continue to build and grow? Because if it can,
Yeah.
then he's something exciting, and then he also probably ends up something that has to be traded because he needs to be extended,
Well,
like after this year.
some teams get this fear in them about, they finally give up on a player and then he becomes the player that they always wanted him to be. Now, usually this happens with like
You mean
more,
why the Warriors are staring at Jonathan Kaminga like still?
yeah, but like you have more value to us than you do to these other teams. But then that's clearly not true because they got two teams that are offering him 90 million, if that's actually 4 years, 90 million.
Who did it besides the Kings?
The Suns.
Oh yeah, I should have
The other
figured that.
report that I heard, yeah. But yeah, well, I was actually thinking Zion and possibly Ja.
Yeah, yeah,
I know Memphis values Ja Morant, but they may value him more than anybody else in the league does because
absolutely.
he's their asset. Same way I
Yeah,
feel about Zion. I think New Orleans is so paralyzed by the fact that like, what if we trade him and then he like gets in shape and plays 70 games one year?
yeah,
That would be the worst. And that's what they're afraid of doing. That's why they won't get rid of him, but he won't ever thrive unless he leaves New Orleans. I
yeah.
feel. So yeah, but usually this happens, like I said, with those are higher profile players. Um,
But you're right with Black, that would be a fear. And I think it's a completely justifiable fear because of what you saw from him. The other part of it, because he's so young, though, and because he plays as hard as he does, you have to love having him around because this is a team now that, with the cap limitations that they're having, that's the type of player that if he scales up is ideal to have.
Yep.
He's going to push your other players. He's going to give you great minutes off the bench with good energy, and he fits into Jamal Mosley's style of play. And you and I have talked about the ecosystem that he's created around defensive accountability and tough-nosed basketball, and he fits perfectly into that. And they've done a great job just with Anthony Parker, Candace Parker's sister, is the one who's running the stuff. Candace Parker's brother, pardon me, is the one running the stuff in Orlando, and he's really done a great job of getting the guys that fit all into that. Now it just needs to come together.
They got really lucky in the fact that Mo Wagner was unlucky. They were able to re-sign him at a really discounted price because of the injury they suffered last year. Really glad to see him back in Orlando. I hope that he can come back and be healthy because I love him.
He was beast for them last year.
He was really good, man.
Yeah.
And I just think this team's going to be a bitch to play. My big thing is I think this is going to be a make or break for at least his offensive play calling as the head coach for Jamal Mosley. I mean, they're going to give him this team. They're going to say, look, if you're 20th in offense with all of these additions, then there's something wrong with you. It's not
Yeah.
the team anymore. Because he could rely on that as a valid excuse for why they weren't a better offensive team. He's like, look who I have to roll out there, man. We just have to kind of make our identity about defense and then get out in transition. It's the only way we can score.
When you're starting Corey Joseph, Tristan De Silva, Caleb Houston, Goga Batadze, and Wendell Carter Jr., it's pretty hard to have a functional offense. In
Exactly.
all fairness to Jamal
But
Mosley,
now they've made these additions, adding Bain, and like I said, like a perfect fit. Tyus Jones, great backup point guard, can really get people in their sets. If you keep playing the wrong lineups and these offensively stunted lineups because you're trying to keep up with your defensive identity and the team can't score a bucket, then it's going to be an indictment of him. I'm not saying it's a hot seat because I think they're going to be a very good team. But I think that there's going to be a conversation where it's like, hey, man, do we need to hire you an assistant coach who can kind of dial up the offensive stuff? Does this something, because you don't want to have ownership management getting into your assistant coaching decisions.
yeah, I think it's a great point.
That's the first nail in the coffin for a head coach
Yeah.
is when they start taking responsibilities away from you. We both are huge fans of Jamal Mosley. I think he's going to be just fine. I'm just saying I could see a world in which the offense doesn't dramatically improve. And I'm not saying they got to be a top 5 offense. They do need to be a top half of the league offense.
They got to be top 15 at least. And
They
I don't know the last
15
time the Magic were top 15.
Yeah, especially when you have a defensive rating that's 2. If you can balance out your net rating to be like 8th or 9th,
Yeah.
that's a really good sign for you as a team. And so you need to at least be in that ballpark. So that's my only real concern with them. Man, what do I think their record's going to be? I want to be high on this. I kind of want to feel like I wonder what Vegas thinks it is. I'm going to guess, and then I'm going to look at what Vegas thinks it is.
Okay.
I'm going to say 52-30.
I'm going a big number on this, and I feel a little scared, but I'm going 55 wins.
Whoa, I love this. Yeah. This is so fun. So high
in the East, with what they can do defensively, I think Paolo has a year where all of a sudden he might be a fringe top 15, top 10 player. With the way he closed the season last year wasn't talked about enough. He was a monster. I'm big on this group. I think they'll figure it out. And also the stuff, it's just the stuff they have to do, as you already talked about, doesn't have to be revolutionary to make them significantly better. It's just got to be about health and a more inventive offensive approach.
So I didn't tell you I wanted to do this, but I want a hot take, like a scorching hot take for each division as we're going through all these. This one's going to be mine. All things considered, everything goes right. I think Paolo Banchero could be a top 5 MVP candidate next year.
Ooh, that is hot.
If you come in with 55 wins and you're at near the top of the Eastern Conference, and then Banchero averages like 27, like 8 and 4, like those are Tatum numbers. That's like Tatum-ish. You're like dancing, like you're in that range. Like he's not as good a player as Jason Tatum. I want to be very clear about that. But it's like it's just the conversation you'd have where you're like, Orlando deserves something. Like they deserve some recognition for what the team's done.
Also, is he as good a player as Jason Tatum was in his 4th NBA season?
Tatum was really good he was in like the Eastern Conference Finals in his 2nd year.
Yeah, but some of that, I mean, look, it's a team.
It's a really good team.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying he was not I don't know, man. I have to go look at his Tatum's 4th year numbers. That would be interesting to look at. All right, I'm gonna look at what Vegas thinks, and you can tell me what you think.
So I've got to come up with a scorching hot take. That's a tough one considering. I mean,
that's scorching hot. That's if everything's got to break right for it to happen. And I don't think there's a wrong answer. No one's gonna come back here and be like, "You said this."
Well, Dyson Daniels is Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, that's. I don't wasn't he top 3?
Okay, see, it's tough for me.
Yeah.
See if I say
it could be a team thing. It could be the Orlando Magic are going to win the Eastern Conference. I don't know. If you have a score everything breaks right. Everything like
Okay, it's scorching hot. The Orlando Magic make the NBA Finals.
that's pretty hot.
Please, we're not popular enough for aggregators, so I'm happy
No,
about that.
yeah, no one's gonna care.
That is not a sensible take for me. That's just us throwing chum into the water.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, I mean, what just happened with Indiana?
Yeah, well,
No, they
that's a
they caught fire at the right time, and a lot of other things happened to other teams.
yeah.
A lot of
Good point.
ACL tears on the Eastern
Yeah, yeah.
last year. A lot
No,
of things, and one of them happened to them.
yeah,
So
it was Achilles.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
Literally the Achilles heel through the East.
So Vegas, I see two of them have them at 51 and a half, which puts them my 52, and then one of them has them at 47 and a half, which is
I
a
feel
little
good.
low.
So my scorching take is 55 wins.
55 is pretty hot. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there you go. There you
yeah,
go. I'm not saying like these have to be right or even like
yeah. Of course not.
accurate.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a reason they're scorching hot. But yeah,
yeah.
if I think I could see him getting top 5 MVP voting, Paolo Banchero, if they go supernova and they figure all this stuff out, and they, they're number 2 or number 3 in the East
Yeah.
next year. I mean, I still think it's Cleveland's division, but 55 wins is a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
I
there you
mean,
go.
not a lot of teams improve by 14 wins in a season. That does
That's
not happen
really
very
hard to
often.
do. I mean, yeah, that's the kind of jump that like bad teams make to being above
Relevant.
average teams.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of 27 to 41, but you don't make 41 to 55. It's very hard to do most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
So, well, that is our Southeast Division coverage. I love that. That was super fun, and we get to decide what division we're going to do next. Which I mean, we can stay in the East, or I don't know. Well, I guess we'll figure that out.
I
Yeah,
say what we do is we'll bounce back and forth and we'll get to the divisions of the champion and the runner up as the last two divisions.
fair enough. Okay, I like that. Well, now we get to the part of the podcast where we get to talk about the WNBA, a part of the podcast I want to call Let Her Cook.
Yeah.
And so I watched most of the Liberty Lynx game last night.
I'm jealous. I wasn't able to, but it looked like a
Yeah,
hell of a game.
Courtney Williams started off the game 0 for 10. And it was the best 0 for 10 game I've ever seen anybody play. When she finally splashed a 3, she was cussing so much on the floor. Finally, and dropping a lot of F-bombs. But she also, when she was 0 for 10, she had 9 assists and like 5 rebounds, a block, and a steal. She is the most relentless player I have seen in the W this season. She is everywhere all the time. The entire offense of the Lynx flows through her pick and roll navigation, her ability to find people, and she is a decisive passer. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever recognized how intelligent and how quickly she makes those synapses fire where she's
Yeah.
like, this is the right pass, and it's the right pass almost every time.
And part of the reason she's not given more credit for it is because it's the right pass. It's not always the flashy pass.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so much of her game is predicated on, I mean, she's kind of got that Chris Paul element to her game where she loves to get into the mid-range. She makes really smart decisions as a playmaker. She's the engine that kind of drives things without having to be the best player on the floor. And you and I talked about her before the season started. We talked about her coming. Like, I'm a huge Courtney Williams fan. I'm so happy this season. And what happened with her in the what buds? I'm
The
just
stud
blanking.
buds.
The stud buds at the All-Star break.
That was so great.
It finally helped elevate the profile that she has deserved for multiple seasons as not just a great player, but a really entertaining player and somebody who you can really get behind. There's a visceral response you have to watching her play. She plays with so much emotion and so
Yes.
much passion, but it's not unbridled. She's not one of those players that's like losing it all the time. There's a certain she's on the edge, but she is a treat.
Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo were just gushing about her last night. They loved the fact that they both were called twin by her.
Yeah.
Ryan Rucco is twin, which
Yeah.
is just amazing. And then they were also talking about like how she would talk about the Liberty. She was like, I respect them as people. I hate them as a team. And when someone brings up New York, I yell and I'm mad at them. And I'm like, "Yeah, I just can't help but love and respect that. Um, I did want to talk. I know you didn't get to watch this, but Jonquel Jones, since coming back from injury, she has not looked like the same player. She looks, I noted this last night when I was posting on threads about it. She looks slow laterally. She could not keep Nafisa Collier in front of her. Not saying that anybody really
Yeah, I
can,
was gonna say that's
but
that's
like
quite the challenge, anyways.
her first step, she was blowing by Jonquel Jones. Like she wasn't like she was stuck in the mud. And I mean, being 6'6", I think that she's used to being athletic enough to recover and block some of these shots from behind. She didn't look like she belonged on Nafisa Collier at all. I know that that's a really hard assignment for anybody, especially somebody who's just coming back from injury. Um,
And Nafisa Collier is so smart about knowing how to attack your weakness. I mean, it's
she's
why
really,
she was the it's why she won the one-on-one. But even when you just watch her, like you watch how she operates, she is very tactical in her approach. So her knowing that Jonquel Jones is a step slow for a player who can't really afford to be a step slow in that
yeah.
matchup, particularly, Nafisa Collier is going to feast. like,
She was attacking her right leg.
yeah.
She was going left a lot. She would use the threat of her 3-point shot, and then she would attack to her left and make Jonquel Jones just look really slow. Um, uh, Visa Collier looked like the MVP. That's not really a huge hot take. She looked
It's
amazing
hers.
last night.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hers for the taking. But Sabrina Ionescu, since the All Star break, and especially since losing Stewie, and she's also been playing without Jonquel Jones a lot of this year. She's averaging like 26, 6, and 6 since the All Star break.
Yeah.
She was she wasn't even shooting threes last night until the second. I think she ended up going 2 for 7 from three, but she shot almost zero in the first half. She was 5 of 8, and they were all like in the paint twos. She was attacking like downhill because she just knew she needed to do something to kind of generate the offense. And then, obviously as they were losing the game, she started firing threes a little bit more, trying to, will her team back in it. Um,
hit that crazy one from like 35 feet. I saw because I saw the highlights of it.
Yeah.
Fully defended, like coming around. Like that's an insane shot
Yeah.
to make when you're out on the court by yourself, but on the move from that level with everybody knowing you're taking it. I think I've told you this before. First of all, shout out to Sabrina Ionescu for continuing to develop her game and flesh it out the way that she has. Every year she's gotten better and better at elements of her game that she's needed to as a distributor,
Really
as a ball handler. She has that Steph Curry element of, and Diana Taurasi was like this too, of players when I see live, Clay obviously as well, the whole arena kind of just holds their breath as soon as she gets an open look. And when I say open, I mean like, a blink of an open. There are not even shooters like Kayla McBride, terrifying shooter, amazing scorer. Doesn't feel the same way. There's just kind of this ineffable quality that they have where the ball touches their hands and you're like, damn it, before it's ever released, and it could be the most insane shot. It just feels like they're going to make it because of their profile, their confidence, their ability to knock down from insane ranges, insane angles, body position. Like I was lower on Sabrina probably about 2.5 years ago, and I've continued to just kind of, because it's easy to look at her numbers sometimes and get caught up in the percentages and some of the big game stuff, but she just continues to evolve and grow and take on bigger roles and be willing to kind of do the things that it takes to win. And it's a credit to her as a developing player to keep leveling up the way that she has.
Yeah. They had a story about her that she really worked on her conditioning, much the way that Steph Curry did.
Yeah.
So she's like in the best shape that she's ever been in, and just you can see it late in games when she's still got her legs under her. When she's firing off those 3-pointers like you're talking about. It's pretty impressive that she's worked on her conditioning, and she's a competitor. She always has been. Last night she dropped 31, 5, and 4 in a losing effort. They scored 93. They gave up 100.
Yeah.
That's just what's going to happen whenever you're missing Breanna Stewart and you're missing Sabally. and they were missing a lot of players
And
last
you're
night.
playing a Lynx team that is a buzzsaw right now.
Really
Like
good.
that Lynx team feels like the 14 Spurs in terms of just the cohesiveness, and there is they have a superstar in Collier, but they don't have, like, when you look at their talent across the board, it doesn't feel like some of these other teams. Like we talked about the Storm and how frustrating the inconsistencies of their play are, but you look at
Yeah.
like their top four players are more impressive than the Lynx, the Aces, another thing like that. But the Lynx just show up, know how to play together, and kick your ass for the entirety of the game in a way that's really impressive. They're going to give you all 40 minutes, and they're going to put it on you. And I
Yeah.
love that. I want
Uh,
to.
Go
I
ahead.
was.
No, go
Do you want to stay on that? Because I was
no, I
going
was
to.
moving. I was gonna talk about another game, but it seemed like you have something you want to talk about. Let's
I
go.
wanted to touch on like a couple other things just around the league really quickly
Yeah.
because we haven't. Uh, Asia Wilson against Dearica Hamby is the one of the, and for all the people that know the background, I'm not going to give you the whole story here, but if you don't know it, please look into it. The Aces were in the wrong, but there is clearly a bitter rivalry there, and
Yes.
Asia put 17 on her in the first quarter and was
He was
just,
8 of 8 from the floor.
yeah, I've watched them live multiple times, and it's like watching Godzilla and King Kong. Like they do not like each other, and it
Wasn't
is
that like
not just
7 minutes?
yeah.
He scored
It's
8 baskets in 7 minutes.
that animus extends beyond basketball, but those of us that are basketball fans get to appreciate it. And shout out for Dearica Hamby, who's become a really, really good player in the wake of really crappy circumstances. And it's been fun to watch. It's funny because ESPN had dropped their power ranking and dropped the Aces below the Sparks because the Sparks had a 5-game winning streak. I felt like they needed to pump the brakes a little bit because that Sparks team has been really inconsistent, and you look at their overall record, and then the Aces come in and get a win that they really needed.
Yeah, were they anticipating that because of Cameron Brink's return?
That was part of it. It was because they won 5 games in a row, and I
I
think
mean,
they just
yeah,
got
I mean, that game against New York was pretty fluky that they ended
yeah,
up winning.
they got a little over their skis. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
they were a
saying.
little over their skis,
Yeah,
but yeah, the other game that I was going to talk about because well, the Wings beat the brakes off the Liberty the other night on Monday night, and then last night against the Dream, they only lost by 3, and hell of a game. Like the Wings are,
look,
despite their coach, despite the organizational like misconduct or mismanagement that's happening around them,
malfeasance, however you want to phrase it.
malfeasance. Sure, if you
Yeah.
want to go with that word, I like that word. I mean, they played some pretty good basketball as of late.
Well, for them, if Paige is on the floor, they can be in any game. If Paige isn't on the floor, it's a lot more difficult, and it's really that simple. I mean,
Did you
what she
see
did
her
against.
ask that referee if he wanted to borrow her glasses?
I know I missed
He was
that.
on the bench and she just walked out there and she's just like wearing her glass. She's like, "Do you want to borrow these?" And it's
She
just
is
she's being playful, but she's also kind of being a shithead.
she is such a delight. Like as a player and a
Amazing.
person, she is so much fun. And as a rookie to be able to do the stuff she's doing, and the respect that she curries around the league already for how she composes herself on and off the floor is a lot of fun to watch as well. Like players really enjoy her. It's not that same like let's give it to the rookie sort of thing that we've seen with other rookies. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to shout out a guy, Chris Gunther, who I've linked to his stuff a lot. He did a piece on Veronica Burton for the Valkyrie, who is balling and needs her flowers because the
Please.
Valkyrie's still playing the way they're playing, despite Kayla Thornton getting down. They got that big win against the Dream a couple nights ago. Their story just continues to be so amazing, and it's just such a reflection of like this great assemblage of players. But Veronica Burton needs to get paid this coming this coming free agent period. And again, Chris had done a great piece. So go on to Basketball Intelligence, or if you can find Charting Hoops, pardon me, on Substack. He just did a really good breakdown of what her value has become as a player and how smart of a player she is. And she deserves all her flowers in the world, and it's been a treat to watch.
Love that. Is there anybody else you want to touch on before we call it call it an episode?
Ari McDonald was pretty amazing in that Fever comeback against the Mercury. That was pretty awesome of her. The Fever are an interesting team to watch right now because they're just so all over the place because of the Caitlin
I
Clark
never know what to
injury and stuff.
expect, like fever game to
Yeah,
fever game. I have
yeah.
it's real trick or treat. I have no idea who's walking through that door. But you know what I know is going to happen? Sophie Cunningham's going to chop it up with somebody.
Man, that girl is doing her best, like Dennis Rodman cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she wants to be the villain, and she's saying all the right things to be the villain. In fairness to her,
Well, now she's got a podcast where she's going to have plenty of time to say something incredibly dumb.
can we not? Can we
I just
not?
don't think players should have podcasts in season. I just
I
don't think that should be a thing.
I fully agree.
If
100.
you want to do it in the offseason, completely understand.
Yeah, I
But like,
stamp
if
that
you get
100%.
eliminated from the playoffs, you can pick up your microphone. You can put the podcast on. But like, yeah, I don't think players need that kind of distraction during the season. And yeah, I mean, she's not the most beloved player in the W. So, I'm sure she's going to have some opinions and some takes that people are not going to like. So,
No, but there's a whole segment that's gonna love her.
yeah, well, there's a whole network that'll probably give her show like a stream,
Probably be sponsored by American Eagle. That's all I'm saying.
or not even gonna. Yeah,
And on that note,
I bet Sophie Cunningham has great genes. Great
yeah,
genes.
yeah.
No, I don't even. Yeah, that was on Threads, and I literally was like, "Not, I can't do this today. This is not the day I'm gonna have."
Yeah,
We're
that I tried.
Phoenix conversation. I'm losing it.
Yeah.
Seems to be a daily conversation anymore. Anyway, Aaron, so glad we're
2
back.
hours. We're getting a little.
We're getting
loopy.
weird. Yeah.
It's time to duck
I
out.
do my best to try and keep these things under 2 hours. I thought I was doing like 8 to 12 minutes per team, but we had a really long tip off. We had a lot of stuff we missed. Break this podcast up over 2 weeks if you want to listen to it in parts. Aaron does a really great job of breaking up the podcast into segments and what we're talking about.
Yeah,
if you want
tag
to
it
hop
on.
around, I know we talk about a lot of things on this podcast. It's long. I do my best, but you know what? We just got a lot to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking of, Aaron, do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote before we call
Nothing to plug. Got some stuff incubating. We'll see when that does or doesn't come out. Schedule is finally. July was absolutely insane for me, and I'm very thankful for it. But I'm ready to get into some normalcy in August. I'm working on my top 100, some WNBA stuff. But it's unfair for me to promote something that may not end up coming to fruition. So, yeah.
Well, you should always subscribe to the Basketball Intelligence Network. There's some just great Substacks, some great authors, some great beat writers, just a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about the game. I learn a lot from that Substack. I get it in my email constantly, and I'm a huge fan of it. So subscribe to the Basketball Intelligence Network. This podcast is on the Basketball Intelligence Network, along with the Corner 3 podcast. And we just added another one from Threads. Who else is on?
Well, no. So we've got the Corner 3. Then we've got Kings Weekly as well.
Yes.
And then we also have the unrestricted area, which was kind of like the flagship pod, and we have something hopefully coming out soon from us and them as well. But if you're on the network, if you're kind of tuned into all those things, we've got a lot of podcasts that are giving you content. So even when it's not us, we normally are rolling out 2 to 4 podcasts a week between those 4 entities.
There you go. See? All of your basketball needs covered in one spot, in one email subscription, and one Basketball Intelligence Network. So there you go. Good enough reason to subscribe. And we not sure when we'll be back. I mean, I would love to record more consistently as long as your schedule allows and my schedule allows. We will work on that. We will let you guys know on Threads, as we always do when we're about to post something or when we are about to go live. Aaron, anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
Appreciate you guys for listening. Appreciate your time. We love talking basketball with you guys. Always looking for feedback, comments, questions, or anything else we can get from you.
Absolutely. Any feedback we can get, we always love to hear it. Even if you want to tell us that we suck, I mean, that's fine. You're allowed to say that. It's a free country. It's rude, but it's a free country. You're allowed to do that. But until that time, we're going to end this podcast the way that we always do, by saying adios.
So I can probably do Tuesday if you want to jump into another division. I can actually do Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday next week. Any of those should be open.
I feel like those dates should. I'm gonna look at my schedule because it changes week to week. But Tuesday, I wanted to say